Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are. Hello and welcome to episode 232 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris, and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time we read Temple of the Winds by Terry Goodkind. We're back into horror, Paris. We're back in the Midlands. Are you excited?
I'm excited because I didn't read this and you did,
Yes.
and I just get to hear about it, which is actually pretty great because this whole series is so stupid, and I'm so happy to just hear about how it's stupid and not experience it firsthand. So thank you. You took another fantasy bullet for the team.
820-page book. So really breaking our boundaries that we've established of like, hey, generally like 350 pages is the limit here. I chose to do this because I've kind of been wanting to see what's up in the Sword of Truth land. I think the last time we read Blood of the Fold, book 3 was like a couple of years ago, maybe at this point.
I feel like maybe you and Terry just both have a masochistic streak, and
it could be that. But like, you and I kind of had some travel dates with our bands, and I was like in a van for many, many hours traveling between dates. So I was like, perfect time to just slog through a fantasy novel.
Yeah, somehow that coincidentally lined up where we were both traveling to play like a festival or shows or something. And we also both felt that it was time to take a fantasy bullet for the team. And last week, as you all now know, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it was a time. Chris had done Fourth Wing was that last year?
It was the episode 200, so yeah, last year.
Yeah, last year. And then you were like, I just feel like, I've read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi, but what's going on in the Midlands? And I was like, Chris, you're not serious. And you said, yes, I am. I'm going to do it. And I said, my God, I owe you. And then I decided to do ACOTAR because I felt like I cosmically owed Chris for both Fourth Wing and Temple of the Winds. So I think we're settled up.
Yeah.
Cosmically,
I was never keeping track. I will say that, like, I had hoped to get through about half the book, about 400 pages, while on that tour in the van. It was so painful that I had to keep putting it down and, like, just interacting with the other human beings in the van with me just to maintain sanity. So I only got through about 200 pages on that tour that contained at least 12 hours of travel time. And I consumed the next 600 at home after tour.
I did not realize that. See, I got my painful reading done before I had to fly across the country.
That's a smart way.
So,
you can enjoy yourself more that way.
Yeah. And then I read Madeline Miller on the plane, and it was delightful. So I recommend doing that, getting the pain out of the way before travel.
Okay, if this is your first time listening to this show, what we do here at the Terrible Book Club is read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, some combination of the three, or previous history with this author, as is the case here. Sometimes
he's dead now,
yeah.
So it's safe to go back.
That's the new wrinkle. That's
Can't
the
hurt us
extra fun
anymore.
thing here. Sometimes we read books that our patrons, listeners, or friends recommend. So we do the opposite of what most people do in a bookstore or while they're browsing the internet. Usually this experiment results in a disappointing read, but once in a while we end up liking the book. Okay, content warnings time, Paris. I think you can just guess. You can just guess what's the content warnings in here based on our history with Terry here. Can you give me just like what you think is going to be in here?
I mean, so first of all, we've got our normal barnyard language. That's separate from Terry. But Terry's definitely going to have some like sex dungeon shit, like probably some, some writing that looks askance at women, let's say. Some kind of slavery, either because of the dungeon stuff or outside of that.
Man, you hit all the marks here. My warnings were slavery, abuse, sexual assault, or sexual coercion, sex worker murder, and fun bonus, pandemic stuff. This is the COVID book.
Oh, no. You gave it to me.
Yes. So obviously this was published well before COVID, but there's a plague that spreads around.
What is the year? What's the publishing year of Temple of the Winds? This is the fourth book in the series. We have previously done 3 of these books.
1997.
97, okay.
So, 23 years before COVID happened. Okay, well, Paris, I'm going to read the back of the book summary here.
Or do you want me to read that? Or am I reading the summary, the long summary? What are we doing here?
Okay, no, I will read the long summary and you have to interject with pain and...
Okay. So I should read the back of the book and the characters.
You could do. Okay, so I have just noticed, interestingly, what I pasted here is the Amazon the Amazon summary. My actual back of the book summary is different. So.
Oh, let's read the book. Yeah, let's do the book because we don't always get those.
Okay. Well, at the same time, the Amazon summary has direct
verbiage. You're gonna say let's read them at the same time
from a prophecy that happens in the book that I think is relevant, but I can just read that prophecy in the course of the summary as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
So the literal back of the book says, everything Richard Rahl has learned will be for naught as the ruthless Emperor Jagang returns with his vast legions, heralded by a mystical plague that kills innocents in the thousands. Richard must now challenge the undefeatable, the magic that thwarts magic, sealed away for 3,000 years in the Temple of the Winds. Prodded by prophecy, shadowed by betrayal, to complete his mission, Richard must accept the truth and find a way to pay the price the winds demand before he and the world both perish.
Yes, even though we know there's many more books in this series.
Of course.
I don't know. I guess I don't know, when this came out, if he intended on writing as many books as he ended up writing or what happened with that, but
I don't care to find out because we have so many of them already, and I feel like just that knowledge is trauma enough.
I was going to say Terry's dead now and he can't hurt us, but actually he can if we continue reading.
He has continued to hurt me.
Turns out.
Actually. So I'm going to give us our characters and setting as well here.
All right.
We've got a familiar cast here, but you probably haven't thought about Sword of Truth in a couple of years.
No,
so you need a little recap.
I thought you were so adamant about being done and never returning to this intellectual property. And look where we are.
Yeah, you can never trust me. Okay, so of course, the setting is still Dahara, which now encompasses also the Midlands, which was a separate region before, but because Richard is the Lord of Dahara at this point, he's in charge of all that shit. There's an imperial order led by Emperor Jagang who popped up in book 3 that is doing some conquering shit all across the continent, yada yada. As for our characters, of course, we have Richard Rahl, the Seeker of Truth, who is just always correct, and the Lord of Dahara at this point. He's king after deposing Darken Rahl in book 1.
His dad, right?
Yes.
Darken Rahl was his dad, yeah. Because this is just Star Wars.
Yes. Kaylin Amnell, Mother Confessor and bride-to-be of Richard. We're going with Kaylin because that's what the CW show.
Why isn't it Colin?
You can hear us say it that way in the Wizard's First Rule episode, which was episode 4 of Terrible Book Club.
3. It was episode 3.
So
episode 3.
Terry has been with us from the beginning.
Do you think he and Terrible are chilling?
Probably.
Or Terrible. No, Terriblo's got him in a dungeon. Actually, no, he'd like that. Maybe he doesn't. Anyway, continue.
We have Emperor Jagang of the Imperial Order, who never really appears personally in his body in this book, but through other people. He talks through them via mind control. But he's here.
So it's just a hologram from Star Wars, but not.
Yeah, but he's taken over someone's mind and body to be able to speak through them. We have Sister Verna, the newest prelate of the Sisters of Light, and
remember her from the last book.
Yes, her accompanying prophet in training, Warren, who was just like, because the sister was always bonded with a wizard, and Warren's going to be the next prophet because Nathan Rahl, the prophet, who is a half brother to Richard,
Nathan.
He was like locked away for centuries or 1,000 years or something because prophecies like tricky shit and like they didn't want to get it out. But he's like out and about.
Was it that long?
Yeah, he's like centuries old. Because if you remember the sex school, like the time is different.
It's like beyond time. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So like
sex
that's why
school
Sister Verna like
time.
was super young, but because she's out of sex school, she aged a little bit, and everyone was like, "Wow, Sister Verna, you got a wrinkle now."
That's right. God, it's bringing me back. So
we mentioned Nathan Rahl. There's Clarissa, this lady that Nathan saves from an imperial sacking of her like home city, and she's just along for the ride. She's like a scribe, and Nathan uses her scribiness kind of a little bit, but not really at all. It's literally just some
undercover.
No, she like honestly, she barely contributes anything to the story, and she's only here because she's like with Nathan, who also barely contributes anything to the story.
Okay. Wow, really, really making me feel good about this plot already.
We have a new half-brother, Dreffin Rahl, who appears.
God.
He is the high priest of the Rog Moss, a secret like healer priest group. He literally just walks in and is like, hey, there's this secret healer group that I'm the head of. And like, why is the healer group secret? Usually we want to keep the assassins or the mages secret, but like the doctors and shit, you'd probably want to be known.
Who you healing if they can't tell anyone? Like, you just...
Eat this medicine. Shh.
If anyone asks, you just miraculously recovered. Like, I don't get it. But wait, how does he have a... So... Did we know that Dark and Rahl could have had all these kids, or was that never
I mean, Nathan is sort of like was like the first precursor, so now like that Pandora's box of like Dark and Rahl just be having bastard children all over the place.
Okay. I mean, he's a evil Dark Lord that tracks. So
yeah, so he was trying to make other people with the gift, and if they didn't have the gift, he would murder them. If they did, he would maybe use them for something, but also murder them. Nonsensical evil overlord shit.
Grind children's genitals into a paste to eat. As in
Dreffin's case, he was born supposedly without a gift, but like his mother like gave him up to the Rog Moss to be under like protection or something. But I would assume Dark and Rahl would know about the Rog Moss because they're like, okay, I don't know. But anyway, he was hidden from them. His mother was a sex worker. That ties into some stuff later on that honestly I'm probably not going to mention that much because it's also not that important.
Great.
We have Cara, Berdine, and Reyna, the remaining Lord Sith who protect Richard and Kaelin.
Again, Star Wars, they're just still Star Wars.
If you remember, Berdine and Reyna are kind of like together as a couple. Cara is just
Are they a couple?
Yes, they are. They're explicitly a couple.
We have actual lesbians in this. Look at that. When does that ever happen?
We have Zed and Annalena. Annalena was the former head prelate of the Sisters of Light. She's like, she didn't like fake her death, but like everyone assumes she was dead.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why Sister Verna is like now in charge, but like her and Verna will like talk to each other with like a journal where you can like write in the journal and the other person with the other copy of the journal will see the messages and
that's right. Stuff. And Annalena was like, yo, we're doing this for sociopolitical reasons. I don't remember what the reason was, but she needed to get out of town.
They're kind of both on the trail of Nathan after he escaped, and they're just kind of like working slightly different angles.
Okay.
And Zed's here too. And then we have Amelia and Janet, who were Sisters of the Dark, former Sisters of the Light.
The names in this are so stupid. Like, it just makes me laugh.
It's
I'm like,
half fantasy,
Amelia
half
and Janet.
normal people names.
But Amelia and Janet, the evil sister, it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay, so that is our relevant cast. There's like generals and like other people. There's like a couple of like nobility that I will mention in the course of the summary who are like mildly plot relevant, but like, I was using this section as like, hey, remember all these people that were plot relevant.
And before we recorded, you had offhandedly mentioned to me there's like a D and E plot, possibly an F plot, and none of them matter. Like, it's kind of
man. Well, we'll get into that bit. Okay, so
Great.
I'm going to start the summary here, Paris. And once again, 820-page book. Can't really go into all of the specific details.
Oh,
Funnily
my God,
enough, I
long.
checked other summaries against mine just to see if I was getting shit right. And hilariously, even the summaries I found online had a lot of for some reason, X happens. This is on the Sword of Truth fan wiki too, so it's not even.
For some reason, Terry decided X. Yep.
I cannot promise you that this summary will feel very coherent because I had a lot of trouble following the reasoning of a lot of things. But please pipe up whenever you have questions or just general angst to throw my way. I will do my best, but often the reasoning will just be well, someone had a hunch.
Okay. Great. I can't wait. All right, listeners, buckle in and up and down.
All right. Well, Richard Rahl and Kaelin Amnell are so excited. They're going to finally get married soon. They promised the Mud People that they'd be wedded according to their customs. So getting all that sorted out while also maintaining a defense of Dahara in the Midlands against the Imperial Order, led by Emperor Jagang, who can mind control people via their dreams, is tricky. The wedding planning is really difficult.
No, I agree. But why are they getting married based on customs that aren't either of theirs?
Because if you remember in the previous book, they spent a lot of time with the Mud People, and Kaelin was gifted a dress by Westlin, who was a Mud People lady, and they just
I can't believe
how the Mud People treated them. Hey, Paris, we get a little bit more of questionable native characterization in this book too. So
okay, so just because they stayed with them for a couple weeks and she got a dress and they like them and they're like, we're just gonna take your cultural stuff.
Well, the Mud People wanted them to be wedded there too, so please be wedded according to our customs.
Sure, I'm sure they did with a fucking staff to their head. Anyway, continue.
Well, don't worry, since if you don't remember from Blood of the Fold, Rahls are immune to dream-based mind control for reasons. And
reasons.
You can be too, as long as you swear fealty to a Rahl and mean it. Remember, that was a key plot point where Jagang can mind control people through their dreams. But as long as you swear loyalty to Richard, it's cool.
I don't remember that. How does it know you mean it?
Well, if you mean it, and that is the process by which the magic works.
Okay. Yep.
Harris, if you're already balking at this is the whole rest of this book is shit like that. So
okay.
Remember, everyone in Dahara has sworn loyalty to Richard. That means Jagang can't just mind control anyone there. Okay. And it can't just mind control Richard and Kaelin and everyone in Dahara and the Midlands who have sworn fealty to him. Jagang sends a wizard assassin named Marlin who just strolls...
Marlin?
Yes.
Not Merlin. Marlin.
He just strolls into Aidendril, the fucking Daharan capital, and the fortress there, since there's a lot of envoys from surrounding lands who have come to let Richard know if they are loyal to him or not. He's everyone got
Wait, what if they roll up and they're we're not? What?
That happens, so we'll get to that. Marlin is kept in a room and asks for Richard or Kaelin. When Kaelin goes with Kara the Mord Sith to see what his deal is, he straight up says, I'm here to kill Richard. So they subdue him via Kara's Mord Sith ability to control people with the gift. That is magical ability. If you remember, Mord Sith are anti-magic.
Yeah.
People. This gives Kara a connection to him, which Jagang can use to cause Kara intense pain, since he can take over Marlin's body at will. So Jagang is connected to Marlin, Kara is connected to Marlin, and Jagang can just fuck with her and give her intense pain.
Okay.
Kaelin is able to kill Marlin, but not before Kara is gravely wounded, and Jagang can go, I've trapped Richard in a double bind fork prophecy. No matter what, you're all fucked. By the way, the prophecy says that either Richard and everyone else dies, or Richard dies and Kaelin will betray him. So at this point, I will read out...
What prophecy?
Okay. He just found, remember the whole thing with the Wizard's Keep, and Nathan is there's just prophecies being generated by magic somehow. And like if you know the
yes.
prophecy, like that like allows you to have some control kinda of the future.
And but they're not all real, right? Like,
yeah, and like they branch out and like somehow this is a double bind prophecy.
Right.
Here is the text of the prophecy, which by the way is like shot onto the wall by Marlin via lightning magic as he is being killed.
Just dying as a projector is a choice. Yes. Like
this is the exact text of the prophecy. On the red moon will come the firestorm. The one bonded to the blade will watch as his people die. If he does nothing, then he and all those he loves will die in its heat. For no blade forged of steel or conjured of sorcery can touch this foe. To quench the inferno, he must seek the remedy in the wind. Lightning will find him on that path, for the one in white, his true beloved, will betray him in her blood. So, Paris, before we get into anything else, what do you think this prophecy ends up meaning? Like, can you decode Terry's shit here and say, like, what actually happens in the book?
A couple of obvious snags. Like, there are other metals from which a sword can be derived. So, being like, no blade of steel, it's like, well, fucking make it out of something else, like titanium. I don't know. Like, I'm sure it'll be fine. And, like, betray him in her blood. I mean, that just sounds like not an intentional betrayal, like something stupid.
Okay, Paris, I want you to think Terry. I need you to think Terry.
So something misogynist, right?
Okay, we're warmer. We're warmer.
She's gonna... Wait, she can't have kids, right?
No, she can.
Oh, she can. Okay, so she's gonna have a kid and it's not gonna be his because somebody would have, like, made themselves look like Richard, and then they had sex and impregnated her.
You're not thinking Terry enough, but we will find out eventually.
Damn.
We will find out.
What define? Like, do I have to go more dungeony?
No, you just have to think like misogynist.
Really. Oh, okay. I thought I was, but I guess not. Oh, I don't know. Is she like something about her period? Like, I
fucking ding, ding, ding.
Oh my god. Oh my god. She has bad period cramps and betrays you through cramping?
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't worry. I just wanted to at least serve that because you have to know how this comes up later, I'm sure.
I don't understand. Okay, now I'm really confused.
Okay, anyway, we're back to like Kara is connected to Jigang. And Kaelin is able to kill Marin. We got the double fork prophecy that's happening here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so some brunette...
double fork?
Double bind.
4 paths?
It's a double bind prophecy.
Double bind, okay.
Anyway, some brunette lady Kaelin had spotted earlier and was suspicious of because her clothes were weird and she had long hair, and longer hair equals more power and social standing, strolls in to try and heal Kara with herbs. She reveals that her name is Nadine and she is here to marry Richard since she, quote, just knew she had to come marry him after a voice told her it was a good idea.
What?
Kaelin suspects that this was the witch woman Shota, who we encountered in a previous book, that specifically wants there to never be a male confessor. So she probably sent Nadine in some hackneyed attempt to ruin Kaelin and Richard's impending marriage.
This feels so unnecessary. Why is this part of this plot? This is so ridiculous.
Nadine knew Richard when he was a woods guide way at the start of the series. He saved her from being assaulted by some men, and she took a shine to him ever since. She had zero idea he was Lord of Dahara until Kaelin told her.
How do you miss that? That's like the biggest thing to have happened in this area, in this country. How do you miss that?
I guess because everyone calls him Lord Rawl, and he wasn't named Richard Rawl, back in the Midlands or whatever.
Yeah, newspapers aren't a thing. Yeah, okay.
Kaelin and Nadine are a little catty at each other over Richard, but ultimately Kaelin lets her stay because she's like, oh, I'm a little suspicious of what Shota's motives are here, so I'm just going to let Nadine hang around so I can maybe suss that shit out.
Okay.
When Nadine's herbs don't help Kara, another random person just strolls in and is like, I'm Dreffin Rawl, High Priest of the Secret Order of the Rog Moss, who are healers, and you are doing stupid womanly stuff with this herbalism, which doesn't work. What this poor woman needs is acupuncture and for me to realign her aura. He is able to heal Kara with this method.
I almost just choked to death on my coffee. This is already so terrible, and we're one paragraph into the 5-page summary.
We're like 70 pages in, Paris, because this is when Richard actually first shows up in the book. This book is actually very Kaelin POV. It's like 1/3 Richard POV as opposed to like 2/3 Kaelin.
Okay. Still, it sounds like none of this needed to happen for this book to exist. So, interesting. Just all filler.
Richard actually shows up for the first time after like 70 pages and is introduced to Dreffin, and he's like, oh, sick, another half-brother like Nathan who escaped the Wizard's Keep in the last book and is out doing prophet shit or whatever.
Every book, there's a new brother. That's my guess.
He likes Dreffin for saving Kara. What he doesn't like is some smaller regions trying to stay neutral in the war between Dahara and the Imperial Order. He takes the if you're not with us, you're against us stance and tells anyone that tries to remain neutral that he might just have to conquer them to prevent them from helping Jagang.
Okay.
One region in particular, Jara, sends an emissary, Tristan, who says, hey, we have to consult the stars in our neck of the woods first. Give me like 2 weeks to consult them since there's a spooky red moon that's been appearing for like the past day or so. Richard is like, yeah, cool, whatever. Meanwhile, we hear about some people getting sick, like some random street urchin's little brother, and also 50,000 Daharan soldiers who got simultaneous diarrhea while patrolling the Daharan outskirts for signs of Jagang's armies.
Okay.
Nadine is like, oh, you just got to give them this one herb, and Richard decides to go help identify the right herbs for the diarrhea-stricken army.
What?
He's like a woods guy, and he's like, oh, they'll get it wrong if we just like send them a description of the anti-diarrhea herb. I'll just go. So he'll be back in a jiffy.
Okay.
Meanwhile, in B and C and D plot land, we have a few couples here. Zed and Annalena, former prelate of the Sisters of Light and, former first wizard, Zed is Richard's grandfather. Annalena is presumed dead, but is actually still alive, are attempting to recapture Nathan Rahl, the centuries-old prophet from the previous book who escaped, and that's bad because prophecy is powerful stuff. We can't have that running around. Nathan actually misled them into following some other random guy and is instead directly in the middle of the Imperial Order's sacking of Renwold, a city in the southern area of the Midlands. This is where Nathan meets and saves Clarissa, who's just some lady, from a life of sexual slavery to Jagang and his armies. Her ability to read and write is helpful to him, even though he can also read. He pretends to be a direct report to Jagang, who is in charge of finding all the important magical books to bring back for Jagang's collection of important magic books and or prophecies. So he's like in the middle of this sacking. He just pretends like he goes up to soldiers and he's like, you got to help me like get these books back to Jagang, guys. Don't fucking piss off the emperor. And everyone's like, I guess. Funny. Okay.
That's pretty funny.
He's convincing enough that the Imperial Order soldiers not only leave him alone, but help him gather these important books in order to keep them from Jagang.
Incredible.
He and Clarissa escape Renwold.
Wow, Nathan for you. Nathan for you. Yeah.
We also have Sister Verna and Warren, who were characters from the last book, out here looking for Nathan. Warren is like slowly succumbing to the headaches that are ultimately fatal if a young wizard does not know how to control his gift and is without a Rada'Han. He doesn't have the collar anymore, so he's getting these headaches all of a sudden.
The Rada'Han collar that women put on men to control them because Terry Goodkind has a very particular fetish. Continue.
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you here that the Zed and Annalena plot is that they pop up randomly throughout the book as they are traded from one racistly coded native culture to another.
Oh, no.
So they're just like captured by this one group and they pretend to be insane or extremely ineffective servants. So they are passed on to the next group when they're like, oh, we if we seem insane enough, we won't be good human sacrifices for their human sacrifice ritual. So they'll sell us to the next native tribe that's next door, and that native tribe wants us to be servants, so we're gonna drop all the shit and like break their stuff so they sell us to the next.
But hang on a second, they're both immensely powerful magical people.
Yes,
Zed is like the most powerful wizard of the era, and Annalisa is also nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, so why wouldn't they just boop themselves out of there? Like, I don't get it.
Oh, it's because conveniently every native group has like a weird ritual that they do to seal off Zed's and Annalena's powers.
What?
Yeah, it's like for the first one, for the Nag Tongs, who are the first group that they encounter, it's just like, oh, they just naturally are anti-magic like Mord Sith. And then like the next group, it's like, oh, they have these vines that they tie around our arms that act exactly like Rada'Han's. And even though Zed in this book, like he has a Rada'Han on him that Anna put on him, he just fucking takes it off. He can't do that to the vines that have ensnared him.
Where's the consistency? No narrative consistency at all. No internal logic.
Paris, there is none.
Why is this series popular? This is all so stupid.
Okay, once again, I'm just telling you that that's what Zed and Annalena are up to in this whole book. They pop up like every 100 or so pages and they get traded off to another tribe in a sort of like comedic break.
They're like, oh no, now we have ribbons on our ankles. Oh no, now we have vines on our arms. Oh no, now we have hoods on our heads.
This is explicitly so that they can end up with the mud people by the end of the book. That is the only reason. They did not have to include this at all. It could have just, they popped up at the end with the mud people and been like, oh yeah, we had a little fun time adventure and here we are now with the mud people. Terry could have left it there.
Fucking Scooby-Doo shit.
Meanwhile, we also get some scenes here and there of like an unnamed guy murdering sex workers for fun and pleasure.
Okay. So there's a serial killer C plot?
Yes.
Or B plot? I guess I don't know.
I feel like that's the B.
More important,
like
B.
Nathan and Clarissa are the C. Zed and Annalena and Warren and Verna are also two separate plots, and they're like D and E, but they both might as well be an F because they just really... Okay, so I would put Verna and Warren as like the D plot because they do appear later in a sort of plot relevant thing that happens at the very end.
And I was going to say, and what they're doing seems more relevant to the story than like the Scooby-Doo plot of like, oh no, now we're traded to someone else. You know,
yes.
That doesn't seem
so they're the D plot, and
consequential.
Zed and Annalena are like the E plot that does not need to be here. Okay,
great.
Back to Kaelin and Richard. The Red Moon was an omen also mentioned in that double bind prophecy that Jigang triggered. Richard and Kaelin interpret it as an omen of the plague that has descended upon Dahara. So they start hearing reports of people being sick, and they visit like some families where children have died. And other people are starting to die as well. It has a 2-week incubation period, and once you show symptoms, you're likely dead within a few days. And if you have a certain skin symptom, you're dead within hours. Dreffin has no way to cure it, neither does Nadine. However, the prophecy mentioned that Richard must seek a remedy in the wind.
You know what? Eat more fiber, everyone. Eat more fiber. It's going to prevent that colon cancer. It's going to prevent that plague.
The prophecy that Jigang left was etched into a wall with the lightning spell, as I mentioned, but it was written in High Daharan, a language that one of the Mord Sith, Berdeen, can translate slowly, along with Richard, who's like kind of picking it up a little bit. In the last book, they came upon the remains of Kolo, a wizard who guarded the Slift, the silvery being who enabled fast travel in the Wizard's Keep.
Oh, God, I forgot about that. So weird.
Kolo had a journal, or like his remains had a journal on him that is a great source of knowledge to Berdeen and Richard, also written in High Daharan. This is where Richard gets his first lead. The word for wind in High Daharan is moss, like Rog Moss, Dreffin's secret healer order. He and Berdeen dig deeper into Kolo's journals and find he mentions a red moon, a temple of the winds, and a team that betrayed Kolo and the wizards in some way. All of this stuff seems a little coincidental, so Richard decides he has to find the temple where the Temple of the Winds is, which will somehow lead to a cure for the plague. So Richard's reasoning here is like, oh, the prophecy mentioned that I have to find a remedy in the wind. Dreffin showed up, and his order has like a word association with wind. We should look for any mentions of wind in Kolo's journal. Oh, there's this Temple of the Wind.
Okay, all right.
That is the logic here.
Sure.
Richard assumes the plague is magical in origin because when he starts visiting children who first come down with the plague, one of them mentions a pretty lady showing him a box with pretty lights inside. Richard assumes this was a sister of the dark and or agent of Jigang sent to start the plague.
That's really weird. Okay, that seems like a weird detail. Sure.
Everyone is now digging through the archives in the Wizard's Keep looking for any mention of the temple, a red moon, a plague, some wind in general, etc.
Okay.
The general gist here is any mention of prophecy reinforces the one Jagang invoked. Either Richard does nothing and he, everyone he loves, and all his people die of the plague, or he is betrayed by Kaelin in her blood and still dies, but saves the people from the plague.
Mm-hmm.
While on one of these dives with Kara and Berdine, Kaelin discovers the Sliff is still awake, even though Richard supposedly put it to sleep in the last book.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
She uses this to fast travel to Shota, who tells Kaelin that her future vision prophecy, but not exactly the same as the prophecy powers, showed her that Richard would marry someone else besides Kaelin, and Kaelin would marry someone besides Richard. So she sent Nadine because at least that might be nice for Richard, since Nadine is the only other woman Richard even sort of maybe had a crush on. He didn't, but that's what Shota thinks. Kaelin is crushed because she knows Shota's visions are pretty foolproof. She travels back within the Sliff.
Are they foolproof? I don't remember that, but okay.
That's what Kaelin is feeling like at this point in the story.
I see. Yep.
Berdine has done enough translating at this point that we found out that the Temple of the Winds used to be at the top of a mountain that's kind of nearby. Everyone travels up there to find some ruins and a sheer cliff with a little man-made path leading up to the cliff. So clearly the Temple of the Winds was like blasted off into space or another dimension or something.
Okay.
Richard can tell because he's always right. I'm actually going to read this passage later because it's just Richard like, I think this is the way that things are. And everyone's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Kaelin told him about Shota's future visions, and they're both pretty upset about everything since it seems like Kaelin is supposed to betray him and also marry someone else. Richard has also found out more about how the Temple of the Winds works, so buckle up here, Paris.
All right, this is the Temple of the Winds explanation?
So, yeah, kinda.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
So thousands of years ago, there was a war between the New World, which was heavy with magic users, and the Old World that wanted to do away with it, pretty much exactly like now. New World magic users were worried about all the magic power available to both them and the Old World folks if they gained access to it. So they did some shit where they sealed away certain magical objects as well as subtractive magic in general within the Temple of the Winds, and then sent the Temple of the Winds into the underworld.
Okay.
If you don't remember, Richard is the first person born in hundreds of years who has access to both additive and subtractive magic because reasons. The wizards who sealed away subtractive magic were considered traitors by others in the New World. For some fucking reason that is never explained, the only way to get into the Temple of the Winds again is for some betrayal to happen.
What?
I don't know.
That's a weird locking mechanism. Locking mechanism. Okay. Could it just be a small betrayal? Like, I took your fucking spoon, your last bite of oatmeal is mine.
The Temple of the Winds is like, you called? Should I be here? So later on, we will get into a reason like there is something that has control of access to the temple in this specific instance, but it doesn't make sense for why in thousands of years ago, this would be the same method of access.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the wizards who was betrayed by the wizards that sealed away subtractive magic.
OG betrayal.
So this is one of the wizards, Lothane, who is super pissed at the magic sealing wizards, is able to do some kind of betrayal to get back into the Temple of the Winds, but the betrayal is seeing away magic even more. So this passage is really fucking stupid, and I will read in the rubric section, don't you worry.
Okay.
Anyway, the plague is raging. Richard doesn't know how to get into the temple still, and he's still really just riding on a hunch that the temple has anything to do with curing the plague. Shota told Kaelin that the next time that the winds send a message, like the red moon, that her and Richard should fucking pay attention, so they're just kind of waiting on that.
Wait, the moon is a message from the wind?
From the temple. Like, yeah, in all of this, they were like, oh, the temple sent the red moon as a message because, like, a betrayal happened.
The temple is sentient?
Yes, 100%.
The temple is sentient?
100%. They determined
How did
that the
happen?
temple... Through all of their reading and translating, they're like, well, it feels like the temple is a sentient being, so we're just going to ride with that assumption.
So what, with enough betrayals, we create sentience? Is this how robots happen and, like, gain...
No, the temple was already, like,
cognition.
sentient from the beginning, and it likes betrayal, so it shows up when betrayal happens.
It's got a betrayal kink. The temple has a
Oh, Paris.
Kink.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
Oh, boy, does it.
No, God. Terry, no. Terry.
Okay.
God.
Okay. While everyone's out for a stroll in the plague-ridden streets of Aidendrill, by the way, that's literally
sounds like a bad idea.
No, literally, Richard at one point is like, I need to go for a fucking walk. And Caitlin's like, I'll come out for a walk with you. And then Kara's like, that sounds nice. Let's all go for a walk. And then Richard's like, you know what? I'll go get Nadine too. And we'll all go for a walk.
But the plague is happening. You probably shouldn't be like bustling about. Are they doing any quarantining?
By the way, they are told many times by Dreffin that like, hey, the plague probably spends through like physical proximity here. And they're like, let's just go stroll through the streets of the capital city.
So no quarantining is happening.
They quarantine a little bit. Like they separate the armies a little bit, but they don't like really quarantine at all.
Yeah.
Okay. While everyone's out for a stroll in the plague-ridden streets of Aidendrill, someone takes a crossbow shot at Nadine, but Richard grabs it out of the fucking air before it hits her.
Okay.
They chase the assassin, but lose him. That night, Caitlin watches as Tristan, the emissary from Jara, sneaks into her room and stabs a bunch of pillows made to look like her in bed, because they knew, like, oh, it was probably something. They're going to go for Caitlin now. Why?
Yeah.
Richard knew that they would go for Caitlin after this, and that the Nadine crossbow bolt was like a ploy to like draw out their guard towards Nadine instead of Caitlin. He just knew this.
Well, I mean, I think you could make a pretty educated guess that that's the case, because everyone knows that Caitlin and Richard have been together for a while now. So, like,
sure,
I get
but
that.
Richard's reasoning is, oh, they took a crossbow shot at Nadine, so I'd put all my guard on Nadine instead of Caitlin.
Yeah.
So they could gain access to Caitlin to murder her in her bedroom later. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, but those two incidents are separate, so that doesn't make sense.
Richard demands that Tristan is beheaded, even though there's a weird-ass argument between him and Caitlin about how he shouldn't have Tristan beheaded because Tristan didn't actually kill her, he just intended to, so that doesn't deserve the death penalty. They legitimately go back and forth for like a couple pages about like, it was only intent, he didn't actually kill me, so he shouldn't get the death penalty.
So attempted murder and committed murder are two different things. I get it. Okay.
He's beheaded anyway, and his head is sent to Jara. Shortly after this, some Andolians show up. This is a very Maradonia moment where just like, hey, there's a new race of people show up. They're like vaguely cat-like magical people.
Oh, they're Tabaxi?
Yes.
They're just Tabaxi. Okay.
Richard and Caitlin are about to brush them off until one of them is like, we have a message from the wind. There's an entirely unnecessary struggle where the Andolian guy who said we have a message was drunk. And Richard is super pissed because Reyna, one of his Mordsith guardians, just died of the plague like seconds ago before the Andolians walked in. And he's like, oh, you were out getting drunk when you had a message from the Temple of the Winds for me? I'm going to fucking kill you. So they get in a fight, but Kara is able to dominate the Andolian messenger since he has the gift. And she receives the message because of this connection. So it could have just been a scene where the Andolians told them the message, but Terry had to put in a scene where Richard gets pissed and almost kills him, and Kara has to pull the message out of him through her Mordsith dominating wizards thing.
Nobody needed this, Terry.
Anyway, the message from the Temple of the Winds is straight up, the Temple of the Winds says that Richard has to marry Nadine and Caitlin has to marry Dreffin, and you must consummate the marriage in total silence to get the temple to appear so that you can get inside. If you don't, everyone will die of the plague.
Listen, Temple of the Winds, I'm going to come down to the underworld and we're going to fight about it because this is bullshit. Why doesn't anyone just go and confront the temple and like kick it a little bit, take a sledgehammer?
Well, it's not in the real world. It's like in the underworld. And the temple's like, listen, if you don't get me off a little bit, I'm not going to come out here, guys.
Yeah, but like, haven't they been to the underworld before? Someone's been to the underworld. Why do I remember that happening?
They like touched it a little bit, but they don't have like a direct route.
Okay, because I would go fuck up the Temple of the Winds if it were me.
Caitlin and Richard agree to this since it seems to be the only way to even maybe rid Dahara of the plague. Nadine and Dreffin are like, well, even though neither of you will love us now, maybe it'll turn out okay in the end. Yeah, let's go for it.
Wait, so they both are like, yeah, cool.
Yes.
That's really strange.
I mean, this whole time Nadine has been like sitting in the background being like, I would love to marry Richard, actually. That would be really cool.
But what about Dreffin?
He's just been here. And he's like, yeah,
so
whatever.
He has not He's not been simping for Kaelin the entire time.
It seems like his motivation is like, if this means we get rid of the plague and me as a healer, I would love that to be, happening. So whatever I have to do.
Okay.
Everyone travels up to the mountain where the temple was to do the marriage thing. Kaelin is upset the whole time. Richard and Nadine say their vows and are led off to some part of the ruins that are like somewhat enclosed in darkness. And Kaelin and Dreffin do the same. For some reason, part of this ritual seals off Kaelin's confessor ability.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
So she can actually have sex without mind controlling Dreffin forever. Since, if you remember, the whole reason that like Kaelin can't actually have sex with someone is she will accidentally release her confessor powers and mind control someone. But with Richard, that's different because he's super special and cool.
This is just incel lore. Terry's whole thing is like really just the magic pussy is so magic you will forever be enslaved to the vagina.
So remember, they're supposed to do this in total silence, and they're also in the dark. And in the dark, she begrudgingly has sex with Dreffin, but then has a little rationalization session where she's like, you know what? Everything sucks, but I can actually have sex without worrying about melting this dude's mind.
Yeah.
Let's go for round 2, and I'll try to enjoy it since the temple hasn't appeared yet, and maybe it wants me to like it before it will appear.
Okay, all right.
She has more willing sex with Dreffin and afterwards begs him not to tell Richard. But then lightning strikes, revealing it was actually Richard the whole time who she was fucking.
Wow, didn't I guess this like an hour ago when we were talking about it?
Richard is fucking pissed about this. It is the most mad he has ever been. The reasoning is thus. Kaelin thought it was Dreffin, went for round 2 purely for pleasure, and then said, yo, don't tell Richard. So guess who just got betrayed in blood because Kaelin was on her period during this?
I want to smash something and break it into a million pieces. That's not a betrayal. Also, the blood is incidental. It has nothing to do with the betrayal itself.
But she was on her period, so she betrayed him in her blood. Being in her blood is being on her period.
I don't think she betrayed him because she was like, what? She's like, well, we don't know if this is going to work. And clearly the temple was serious about this. So I guess we just got to keep fucking. I mean, no one wants to do this. Like, it's not.
The betrayal logic as presented in the book is like, oh, but she liked it for round 2 and then told Richard, who she thought was Dreffin, hey, don't tell Richard about this.
Yeah, well, that's her own fault. She shouldn't have said that.
That is the betrayal.
That's very, very stupid. Deeply dumb.
Yes. Anyway, the temple appears after Kaelin literally says, the Temple of the Winds is coming, which makes the whole thing really seem like an elaborate setup for a sentient temple with weird fetishes to get off somehow.
Yeah, like it appears and there's just a big moan from the underworld. It's like, great.
Anyway, the temple appears and Richard stalks off into it. Kara is like, Kaelin, what the fuck? I switched Richard and Dreffin in the dark at the last minute so you could fuck Richard. Why is he so mad?
Wait, but then like, how did they didn't actually betray each other because everyone was just fucking the correct.
Once again, the logic is that because Kaelin enjoyed it.
It's the intent.
It is because Kaelin went for round 2 and enjoyed it. Then Dreffin shows up and is like, oh yeah, those screams you heard from Nadine that you assumed were her screams of pleasure from Richard fucking her was actually me throwing her off the fucking side of the mountain.
What?
You're my wife now, so you live in servitude to me since you don't have confessor powers and I'm the new Lord Rahl, who is in charge of Dahara.
Hang on. Hold on a second. Okay, all right. Back up a second. So, hearing someone fall off a mountain and hearing someone have sex are two very distinct soundscapes. They do not sound alike at all, unless you are like, there is nothing similar to someone falling off a mountain going, ah!
Like the fade off, too.
Like a Wilhelm scream is not like someone having sex. So that makes that is not possible. It's not possible that you could hear someone fall off a mountain and go, oh yeah, she's having a great time getting fucked. Like that.
Wow, she's getting so pounded that her voice faded away and like had reverb come off from the echo of the mountain as she fell into the fucking canyon.
Like that. Why write that word? Why write that in there? That makes no sense. And then secondly, the confessor powers being shut off, I thought that was just during the sex ritual. Why would they be shut off, like, forever?
Yes, they're shut off now, like, permanently, kind of, for like some reason. So this is the reason it was written like this is Dreffin's villain reveal. He the whole time
I can see that. I can see that. Yes.
Like the book hasn't gotten to this point yet, but it was him who was murdering the sex workers all the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because his mother was a sex worker and like he
Lord Incel to rule them all.
Yeah, of course. So, Caitlin doesn't have her confessor powers anymore, so he can kind of like slap her around. What he doesn't do, though, is he doesn't sexually assault her. He's like, I'm going to wait for you to ask me to actually fuck me before I want you to like it, which was sort of like a weird thing with how he murdered the sex workers, too. He was like, I'm waiting for them to ask me to fuck them and to like it, and then I stab them.
All right. Everyone's got really specific kinks in Terry's stories.
Anyway, Richard is moping in the Temple of the Winds for like a few weeks or something, and this has a few effects.
What?
Yeah, he's just chilling in there.
That is so long. Why would you stay in there for that long?
Firstly, since the temple technically exists in the underworld and he went there, he has died, and all of the protections swearing allegiance to him when you offer your allegiance to him are turned off. So Jagang can do all kinds of like mind control shit, which has mild effects on Werner, Warren, Nathan, and Clarissa's subplots.
But they pledged servitude to Lord Rawl, and now Dreffin is Lord Rawl.
Yes, so spot on. You're spot on. You're spot on with this, Paris. They have to do a thing where like, they can feel Richard's like allegiance bond like fade away for some reason after he goes to the underworld.
Okay.
And they're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? But like Nathan is around a handful of people, like Amelia and Janet and like Verna and Warren. So they can all swear loyalty to Nathan and that he's a Rawl, so it works for them. And then everyone else in Dahara is like, well, I guess we'll kind of swear loyalty to Dreffin now. Or like Dreffin like automatically takes over. Like you don't have to. There's never a scene where anyone directly swears to Dreffin. But like it's like transfers, but they have to directly swear to Nathan for it to I don't know, man.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
So anyway, remember like the whole Verna and Warren and Nathan and Clarissa shit? So they've been trying to fuck with Jagang in various ways, and there's a lot of swearing allegiance to Nathan because he's a Rawl, so if you do Jagang's, magic doesn't work. Nathan has been working to free other Sisters of the Light from Jagang's sexual slavery in his army camps and manages to free a few, including some former Sisters of the Dark. It is revealed that one of the Dark Sisters, Amelia, was the one who started the plague. There's like a little bit back and forth where like Amelia pretends to have sworn back to the Sisters of the Light and to Nathan, but she didn't really mean it the whole time.
Lord, okay.
Since a Sister of the Dark is sworn to the Keeper, if she swears allegiance to Jagang instead, she has betrayed the Keeper, so the Temple of the Winds can be accessed.
Temple of the Winds can get off again. Yeah, great.
There was a magic book within the temple that had the magic to start the plague, but Jagang underestimated it, and it's actually wreaking havoc to pretty much the entire world, not just Dahara. Good thing Richard being in the temple means he can just turn off the plague magically, since being there grants him massive knowledge boosts on how to use magic somehow.
What? Oh, God. This is so convoluted and stupid.
He's visited by many dead people, including Denna, the Mord Sith that tortured him in the first book, Kaelin's mom, and Darken Rawl, who is like, it is me that set the price to enter the temple as being the whole marriage thing. Haha, fuck you. Also, I am the one who gets to set the price for you leaving. This doesn't make sense because the temple betrayal thing has been like set for like thousands of years. So I don't know why Darken Rawl is like, I set up this specific marriage like cuck betrayal thing to happen for you to get into the
I was in the chair while it happened.
Anyway, the price for Richard to leave is that you have to lose all the magical knowledge you gained when you came in.
Okay,
and
fine.
Secondly, you also get the plague so that you will die.
Okay, that sucks a little.
Richard accepts the price so he can leave the temple and tell Kaelin he forgives her for enjoying sex with him. But after that, he super extra banishes Darken Rawl forever again or something.
I don't understand. Oh my God, Terry, if you were still alive, I would write you an email about this because this is atrocious. Also, I need to have a talk with somebody from Tor who published this. What the fuck were you thinking?
Richard comes back to Aidendrill and is like, hey, baby, I forgive you. You did what you had to do to cure the plague. Your dead mom taught me that. Also, I'm dying.
Okay.
Richard collapses and Kaelin sees he has writing on his arms that says, "Find book, destroy it to live." And the specific destruction ritual sequence being put white sorcerer's sand on the third page, say 3 magic words out loud, then 1 grain of black sorcerer's sand on that in order to destroy the book, and that will cure Richard of the plague.
What's sorcerer's sand? I don't remember.
So again, Richard had that knowledge when he
Sorcerer pissed on it.
It's like it's actually explained. It's like sorcerer.
Oh, it's dandruff. It's from the hat. It's from the hat.
It's sorcerer like bone dust is what it is.
Okay, that's fine.
So again, Richard had this knowledge when he went inside the temple and wrote it on himself to give himself a chance at surviving the plague. This is the fucking first time Kaelin is hearing about a magic book, and Richard is dying like right this second. So she runs to the Sliff and is like, "I need to travel to the old world. The book might be there, maybe."
What?
And the Sliff is like, "Where?" And she's like, "I don't know, like somewhere." And then Kaelin pops out right in front of Nathan Rahl, Sister Verna, Warren, Clarissa, and Sister Amelia, who has the fucking book with her. Clarissa is killed. Kaelin kills Amelia and takes the book. Nathan is like, "Lol, that sucked," and helps Warren gain control of his gift. So to be clear, Kaelin had no idea where to find the book, and she tells the Sliff, like, "I don't know, fucking take me somewhere in the old world." And she literally pops out right in front of where, like, all those subplots were converging conveniently.
And of course, one of those people has the book.
Yes.
The sins in this book are numerous, but this might be the worst one.
Kaelin gets back in time to find Dreffin torturing Kara, trying to find out where Richard is, because like they hid Richard because he was sick and they didn't want Dreffin to find him.
Oh, okay.
By the way, I want to mention offhandedly that like before Richard stalked off into the Temple of the Winds, he like gave Dreffin the Sword of Truth because he's like, "I'm not the Seeker anymore after this whole marriage thing happened."
Wait, what?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
What?
I don't know. He like,
why would he?
He's like mopey after Kaelin enjoyed sex with him because she thought he was Dreffin and she was trying to like enjoy sex for once or something. And so he's like, "Man, this sucks. You can have the Sword of Truth. I guess she likes you." I don't know why. Dude, it makes no sense why he handed Dreffin the Sword of Truth and why he thinks he's not the Seeker anymore after the Temple of the Winds cuck ritual that they had to do.
Yeah, I'm really trying to figure that one out. I mean, what?
It's like Dark and Rawl is like, "I've enforced this double bind cuck prophecy where you're both cucking each other a little." Like that to Richard's
also,
mind.
like, they're his sons, so that's way worse than a regular cuck scenario. That's so much worse. He requested a double cucking of his 2 sons. Jesus Christ, Rawl.
Well,
man, you thought
Dreffin wasn't getting anything anyway. He was like, he was a sex worker murderer, so he wasn't even like having sex with them before the murder. So maybe Dreffin could have used someone, but like whatever. Anyway, Dreffin's now torturing Kara, trying to find out where Richard is. Kara had hidden him somewhere while Kaelin ran off in the Sliff to get the book, and Dreffin knows that means his position in power as ruler of Dahara is threatened. Dreffin overpowers Kaelin since she doesn't have her confessor powers, but Richard shows up and overpowers him despite being near death with the plague.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
He doesn't even need the Sword of Truth. There's a moment here where he's like, the Seeker doesn't really need the Sword of Truth to use Seeker powers, so like what the fuck does it matter anyway? The Sliff is actually the one who kills Dreffin, since Dreffin is fully confessing to being the sex worker murderer at this point, and all women are whores, blah, 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 which the Sliff takes some offense to since it is revealed earlier that the Sliff used to be a sex worker thousands of years ago to Lethane and all those wizards. She was turned into a Sliff because although she was extremely discreet and never revealed who her clients were to any of the clients, they mistrusted her. But the magic that turned her into a Sliff meant that she would be good for use as one since she wouldn't reveal her other Sliff clients to other users of the Sliff.
I love how we've reduced women to something that can just like transitively be a fuckbot or like a train. Did you know women can just...
And if you don't want anyone to know who you used the train, like when you use the train into where, you have to turn someone who was like discreet about her sex work into the train because that aspect of their personality will remain.
Man, I'm so glad Terry's dead because... I hope he's experiencing some kind of discomfort wherever he is. I hope he's in the Temple of the Winds. I hope he's getting double cucked by his dad in the Temple of the Winds.
Temple of the fucking cucking. Temple of the Cuck Winds. I was trying, like, honestly, the whole time it sounds like Temple of the Farts to me, but there was never a good joke for that.
Yeah. Well, I made the fiber joke earlier because that's what I thought. That's what I thought we were doing. But
anyway,
all right. Well, okay. All right.
Dreffin's dead. Richard is able to heal Kara from her torture wounds and Kaelin after she took a paralyzing knife wound to the back from Dreffin. She's like, I can't feel my legs for 5 seconds, and then Richard walks over and is like, I've got it, don't worry, and like heals her from that.
Great.
Then he collapses fully.
Wait, then why couldn't he heal everyone from the plague?
It didn't work. Shut up, okay? Good thing Kaelin has the book, the magic book that released the plague on her, and is able to perform the book destruction ritual right then and there, with mild tension added from the fact that she forgets the 3 magic words that she had to say. But like Kara was like, oh, it was these 3. You said like you told them to be earlier, so we'll just say them right now. It's again like 5 seconds of tension.
Okay.
Anyway, everything's cool again. Richard and Kaelin are hale and healthy. The plague is gone. They can do their Mud People resort wedding. Zed and Anna are there because they got traded to the Mud People in the end. So like you could have just had them pop up at the end and be like, "Hey, we got traded over here." We didn't have to have 70
or how
pages.
About we got your invitation even. You know?
When Kaelin is recounting the magic words she had to say to stop the plague, Zed and Anna freak out and stop her from saying them and go, "Don't ever fucking say those words out loud." Which is probably bad because Kaelin and Kara said them about 5 times when destroying the book.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kaelin and Richard are married. Shota gives Kaelin a magic birth control necklace so they don't conceive a male confessor. And then Richard and Kaelin fuck, but with like the light on this time. The end.
Oh.
Okay, Paris.
Chris, I don't know how you read 800 pages of that. Terrible. I'm feeling terrible.
Feeling terrible, Goodkind. Paris, I want you to know that once again, Discord has frozen your video, but it is of you double flipping the bird to the camera. So, all I see is you flipping off the whole concept of this entire book.
What made me do that? Was that where did I find that? Was recent. I think that was like when they all converged, the plots all converged. I was like, I can't take
so
this.
Mercifully the Discord bot decided to freeze you on that frame, and it is a pretty good summation of everything that I felt after this. Do you have any immediate questions?
I don't know, man. This is so terrible. Like, this is actually terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the other ones were bad, but this is the most convoluted and stupid by far. This is like orders of magnitude worse than the last one.
The levels of ass pull happening here to get around magic rules that were set sometimes books ago, sometimes seconds ago, is unfathomable. I don't understand how Terry had that much room in his colon to be able to pull out all this bullshit. You would think at a certain point you would get tired of be like, hey, maybe I should try to make this make a little bit more sense and have the whole plot not just be, well, Richard had a hunch about something and he was right in the end.
Yeah, and there seems to be, I mean, it feels like there's a focus on number of layers to story instead of like quality of story, which is strange. I don't know if that's just like what the late 90s fantasy world was like you had to outlayer everybody else or what.
This is definitely quantity over quality in terms of like publishing a book. Like there are hundreds of pages. This could have been easily a 600-page book without blinking.
200 pages.
200 with like a little bit more thought and editing, but like you could clip 200 pages out of this without and change nothing else and it would be fine.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this needs to be cut down far more because so much of this doesn't add anything or make sense. I mean, why would you do this? And it's not like he was getting paid by the word or the page. I mean, it's not, I don't think so. Anyway, that would be strange because it was 1997.
Maybe Tor back in the 90s was like, listen, they like them fantasy novels big and thick, so just give us as much as you can.
Maybe.
Okay, Paris, entering into the rubric.
Entering into the temple of the rubric. I will take one side of the cuck ring. You take the other. Sorry, this joke is dead,
I refuse.
I love
it's not worth it. Everyone can die of the plague for all I care.
All right, Chris, it's dark. We have to give our scores in the dark and only reveal them after the lights are on because we have to betray each other with our scores.
Cerebro can't get off.
So Cerebro can get off, yeah.
Okay, technical construction. Listen, man, this was published by Tor in the 90s. That is fine. It is no punctuation issues. It's classic fantasy novel shit. I'm moving past this. This is a 1.
It was Tor, right? I'm not crazy. Like I just guessed it was Tor. Okay,
let's triple check here. Yes, it is. There's the
label. If you
just
check this
right there.
Okay.
There's Tor.
Yeah, I thought so.
Okay. Plot construction. Great. General coherence. Holy fucking shit. Paris.
It's so bad.
There are so many things that are not explained or just hand waved away. Like the betrayal mechanism for entering the temple.
Yeah, it's simultaneously thousands of years old, but also Dark and Rawl just set this up moments ago to fuck with Richard.
He specifically set up the, you have to marry Nadine and Kaelin has to he set up that particular extra layer of betrayal happening here. I want you to know at one point in the book, they figure out that betrayal is how people can get into the Temple of the Winds, but they all are like, oh, well, if the wizards from thousands of years ago couldn't get in again, it must be that betrayal doesn't work a second time. But it absolutely is that. And also, how does the temple know what kind of betrayal? Is it casting its gaze upon people that certain people have to do the betraying? Is, as you said before, simple enough, you just took someone's coffee out of the break room or their lunch? Is that enough to get the temple to perk up? It's never elaborated upon how the temple decides this is the right betrayal. I guess because Dark and Rawl shows up as someone from the underworld has to decide what the mechanism is. But what does that mean for the early part when the early wizards sealed it away?
I also what does betrayal have to do with wind? What's the connection there?
Nothing. It's just that's what the Temple of the Winds be.
And why is the temple sentient? Why does it have a will and needs and sexual desires? Does anyone know?
Also not explained.
Why did it have to go to the underworld again?
Okay, because in the ancient wizarding war, the new world was had all kinds of magic shit, and certain people in the new world were this is getting out of hand. The old world is going to get access to all these crazy magic things. And also, we don't think anyone should have access to all this crazy magic power. So we're going to seal away these magical objects and also the concept of subtractive magic itself within the Temple of the Winds and cast that into the underworld so no one out here can gain access to these magical items or subtractive magic. Even though, once again, Richard just gets access to it and so does Dark and Rawl. So, it's not that good of a seal. Had a couple leaks there.
Okay, moving on. More temple problems.
Locking away Kaelin's confessor powers because of the temple ritual. And by the way, they, also just turn back on after, Dreffin is dead.
For reasons? What?
For reasons? This is never elaborated upon at all, aside from, it's off now. Oh, wait, it's back on again. The entire bit about Richard figuring out that the Temple of Winds was involved came from the fact that Jagang's prophecy had the word wind in it, that Dreffin's Order of Healers had the word wind in it, so he started looking for mentions of wind in any books in the Wizard's Keep, but it's not like there's a fucking index or a Dewey Decimal System in there. They're just opening all these books or looking for piles of books that mention magicalness and looking for wind mentions in possibly languages that they barely understand. Also, the part where Dreffin's healer order had the High Daharan word for wind in it is not relevant at all. It's that there's no Dreffin didn't do anything. He's kind of involved in the Temple of the Wind thing, but like it's not like the healers came from the Temple of the Wind.
You see, he was a wind and he betrayed them. So it's the betrayal of the wind guy.
By the way, I also want to say that like at the very end of the book, a bunch of other Rog Moths show up. And one of them is like, I'm the high priest of the Rog Moths. And Richard was like, wait, but Dreffin said he was. And they're like, lol, no, he wasn't. He was lying to you. And
yeah, no shit. So that's even funnier because it was just all a ruse. It wasn't even real.
Yes, 100%. So all of this is just like Richard free associating and them just like looking for anything that they can in the Wizard's Keep that mentions like wind at all. And then they're looking for the Temple of the Wind mentions at all. After that, there's like mentions of like wizard trials that happen, like courtroom trial. At one point, they're looking for a book about an ancient wizard trial that happened, as in like a courtroom trial.
Why does this matter?
Because like that is where Richard is like, oh, this was like a big betrayal thing that happened. So they must have like judicial proceedings, like sentencing people for the betrayal. So let's go look for like wizard trial books. And again, it's not organized. So they just have to go looking through every nook and cranny of the Wizard's Keep.
Why isn't it organized though? Like it seems like a major oversight to not have your magical book library organized, but
in order to find the particular wizard trial proceedings book minutes that he needs, Richard stands in the middle of like the first wizard's enclave that have a bunch of books randomly stacked everywhere, blindfolds himself and just feels his way to the right book with gut feeling. There's some tension added because for some reason he thinks knocking over a stack of books could result in some wacky magical trap being set off. So he has Burdine and Raina lead him around for a bit while doing that. I am going to read this passage to you, Paris. Because this is such a microcosm of what the fucking deal is with how Terry lays out it, like plot stuff happening. Richard stepped out onto the marble again. Again it glowed and hummed. It must be a shield then. Here, take my hand and try again. Holding Richard's hand, Burdine was able to step onto the marble with him. Raina took his other hand and followed. All right, he said, since it's some kind of shield, don't let go of my hand while we're on this part. We don't know what would happen. For all I know, if you let go of my hand, you could fry like bacon on a griddle. Their grips on his hands tightened as they stepped into the steps up to the wing within the books. The floor went silent. Without Richard to hold their hands on the way out, they would be trapped inside this place, unable to return across the central floor. The wing with the books wasn't the kind of library he had expected. There were rows of shelves, but they were in disarray, with books stacked every which way. Chunks of rock served as bookends for a few standing upright among the disorder. Here and there, books were in piles, as if someone had pulled them from the shelves and simply tossed them in a heap. Most were closed, but a significant number lay open, some face up, some face down. But that wasn't the biggest surprise. Everywhere it seemed, there were books stacked up on the floor. A few stacks were short, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, but many more were tall pillars of books. Some of the irregular stacks towered 12 or 14 feet. They looked as if the mere act of breathing could make them topple. The columns of books were everywhere, creating a maze. Richard couldn't fathom the reason for the books being stacked in such disarray, but the mystery of it made him sweat. Richard took an arm of each woman. My grandfather told me that there were books in the keep that were extremely dangerous. Kaelin told me that the most dangerous things were kept in here, where no one could get to them, not even the wizards she knew. Burdine shot him a look. You mean you think that the books themselves could be dangerous? Not just the information in them, but the actual books? Richard thought of the description of a book that Sister Amelia had used to start the plague. I'm not sure, but we had better treat them as such. Look, but don't touch. Burdine's brow drew down with a dubious frown. Lord Rahl, there must be thousands of books I can see just standing here. There are bound to be more down the aisles. It will take us weeks to find the one we want, if it's even here. Richard took a deep breath. Burdine was right. He hadn't expected to find so many books in here. He thought the libraries held most of the books, and there would only be a few in here. If you want to be out of here before dark, we don't have long, Raina said. We might as well come back tomorrow and get an early start. Richard was beginning to feel intimidated by the task ahead. We'll just have to stay after dark. We'll stay all night if we have to. Raina rolled her aegil in her fingers. If you say so, Lord Rahl. Richard's heart sank as he stood staring at the forest of books. He needed information, not a search for one leaf in a forest. If only he could use magic to find the one leaf. He idly adjusted the bands at his wrists. Under his fingers, he felt the starburst pattern on one of them. Look without fixing your sight. I have an idea, he said. Wait here, I'll be right back. Richard returned to the pillars. He went to one that held a cracked glass bowl upon a large square of black cloth. What good is that going to do, Raina asked when he came back holding the cloth out for them. There's too much to see. I'm going to use this as a blindfold so I won't see all the things I don't want to see. Berdine's face twisted with incredulity. If you're blindfolded, then how are you going to see the thing we're looking for? With magic, I'm going to try to let my gift guide me. Sometimes it works that way. Through need. All these books are too confusing. If I'm blindfolded, I won't see them and I'll be able to feel the one I'm looking for. At least that's what I hope. Raina gazed out over all the books. Well, you are the Lord Rawl. You have magic. If it has a chance of getting us out of spending the night here, then I say do it. Richard placed the black cloth over his eyes and began tying its tails behind his head. Just guide me and keep me from touching anything. Don't forget what I said about you two not touching anything either. Don't worry about us, Lord Rawl, Raina said. We're not about to touch anything. When he finished tying the blindfold over his eyes, Richard turned his head this way and that, testing to make sure that he couldn't see. He rubbed a finger over the starburst on his wristband. His world was pitch black. He sought the inner peace, the inner calm where dwelled his gift. If the plague was started by magic from the Temple of the Winds, then maybe they had a chance to halt it. If he did nothing, then untold thousands of people were going to die. He needed that book. He thought about the boy he had watched die, about the little girl Lily who told him about the Sister of the Dark showing her the book. That was how the plague started. He knew it was. That precious child had the tokens on her, which is like the sign of the plague about to kill you. It's just like a skin thing. Richard hadn't inquired, but he knew that she at least would be dead by now. He couldn't bear to inquire. He needed that book. He put a foot out. Nudge me with your fingers if I'm about to run into anything. Try not to talk, but if you must, don't be afraid to speak up. He felt their fingers lightly touch his arm as he stepped forward. They guided him with that touch, keeping him from colliding with the towering stacks of books as he waded deeper into the maze. So there's a couple paragraphs here about them leading. Okay. But then Richard nodded, not wanting to distract himself by answering with words. He was concentrating on feeling the object of his need. He felt it near. His fingers lightly brushed the books, running down the stack, touching the bindings of some and the pages of others because they were turned around the other way. I thought you said don't fucking touch anything. His fingers stopped on a binding. This one. He tapped the leather binding. This one. What does it say? Berdine popped a hand onto his thigh to support herself as she leaned in. It's Rada'Han, something about the Temple of the Winds. Hagen richt ostfuer most verlassendrek richt greslechten. Temple of the Winds, Inquisition and Trial, Richard translated in a whisper. We found it.
You know, remember last episode where I was like, I need more fantasy language. I don't need whatever the fuck that was. That sounds fucking dumb.
That is everything in this book is just Richard has a hunch and kind of follows it. And guess what? He's right. All of this is also just prophecies of various types, like Jagags, showed us future vision. Even the Mud People have a scene where they reinforce the prophecy of Kaelin will betray Richard, telling Richard and Kaelin that this is the plot of the book that they're in. So they look for books with related words or phrases in them until something else happens. Then they just open the temple when randos show up and are like, oh, you got to fuck someone else besides your betrothed so the temple can come or something.
Yeah, what?
They follow the plot of the book because someone is telling them, hey, this is what's going to happen later in the book, essentially. And they just kind of go by hundreds until legitimately, like, in a very Maradonia way, I find like some magic people show up and are like, hey, we have the message from the magic place for you guys, which is very Maradonia flavored to me.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to read two more, or maybe even one more part where it's just Richard's gut is always correct about shit.
Yeah, he's the seeker of truth. He's got a direct line to truth, Kristen, you know?
Yeah. This is a section where, like, they're at that mountaintop where the Temple of the Winds ostensibly used to be, but there's just, like, nothing after a certain point. It's kind of funny, Lord Rawl, Lieutenant Crawford said. Richard gazed out over the boulder field. What's funny about it? The lieutenant bent his head back to peer up the cliff. Well, I meant it's odd. I grew up in rugged mountains, so I've seen places like these mountains my whole life, but this place is odd. He turned and pointed. See that mountain over there? You can see where the rock slide came from. Richard put a hand over his brow to shield his eyes from the low afternoon sun. The mountain the lieutenant was pointing was so rugged and covered with trees, except for the uppermost reaches. On the steep side facing them, a part of it had given way, leaving naked rock to scar the mountain where the rock had broken off. At the bottom of the barren scar lay a boulder field. What about it? Well, look at all that rock at the bottom. That's the portion that broke off the face of the mountain. He gestured to the boulder field they stood atop. This isn't the same. Another soldier approached and saluted with a fist to his heart. He cast a wary glance at Ulick and Egan, who were standing with their arms folded while he awaited silently. Nothing, Lord Rawl, he said when Richard acknowledged him. Not so much as a flake of rock that's been worked with tools. Keep looking. Try the outer fringes of the boulder field. Look for places where you can crawl down under some of the larger boulders and check under there, too. The soldier saluted and hurried off. There wasn't much of the day left. Richard had told him that he didn't want to stay the next day. He wanted to get back to Aidendro. Kaelin would probably be back that night or possibly tomorrow. He wanted to be there. If she was still alive. He broke out in a sweat at the very thought. His knees felt weak. He banished the thought. She would be back. That was all there was to it. She would be back. He made himself quit thinking about it and put his mind to the problem at hand. So what do you think, Lieutenant? Lieutenant Crawford pitched a stone, watching it bounce first off one boulder than another. The sharp sound echoed off the cliff behind them. It could be that the face of this mountain broke off much longer ago. Then over all that time, things started growing in, dying, making soil for larger things to grow, and then they died, making yet more soil. It could be that it's been covered over. Richard knew what Lieutenant Crawford was talking about. He knew how a forest in time could cover over rock slides. If you dug in the forest at the bottom of a cliff, you often encountered the bones of the fallen mountain. I don't think so in this case. The lieutenant looked over at him. May I ask why you think not, Lord Rawl? Richard stared across the rift next to the mountain. Well, look at that cliff. The face of it is rough and uneven, yet the rock of the mountain left behind after the face fell away is weathered now. So much of it isn't sharp. It's been worn by time. Some of it is sharp, though. Water gets in the cracks, freezes, and breaks off more of the rock with time. You can see some of those sharp places, but most of it has a softer look. It has the look to me that it happened long before this slide here, yet you can still see most of the rock lying at the bottom of the cliff. Here, there's much less screen. Egan unfolded his arms and brushed back his blonde hair. Could just be the lay of the land. Cliff faces south, letting the sun in to help things grow, whereas that one faces north, so it's in shade most of the time.
Right.
Forest wouldn't grow in as well over there, and that would leave the scree exposed. Egan had a point. There is more to it. Richard tilted his head back and looked up the thousands of feet of sheer cliff face towering over them. Half this mountain is gone. That one over there is just a small slide in comparison. Look up at this mountain and try to imagine what it would have looked like before this happened. It's cleaved from the very top all the way down, like a log round split in half. All the rest of the mountains around here are more or less cone-shaped. This one is only half a cone. Even if I'm wrong and half the mountain isn't gone and it used to be shaped much as we see now, there would still be an immense amount of rock down here. I mean, even if it used to be much this shape and only a shell of rock 10 or 20 feet thick collapsed, by the towering height alone, there would have to be a huge pile of rubble. This rock is sharp, so it might be pieces broken off by the working of water freezing, but probably since I can't see any time-worn places, it happened more recently. Yet I just don't see any evidence of the mass of rock that would have had to come off the mountain. Even if it had been covered over in time, I'd think that where we're standing would be a huge mound. The lieutenant glanced about. You have a point. This is pretty much level with the bottom of the rift. If all that rock broke off, there's no mound under the forest down here. Richard watched the soldiers all about, searching through the rock and woods for any sign of the Temple of the Winds. None looked to be finding anything. I can't see that it's down here. I just don't see any reason to believe that the mountain fell down here. Ulick and Egan folded their arms again. The matter settled as far as they were concerned. Lieutenant Crawford cleared his throat. Lord Rawl, if the half of Mount Curnimost that used to be here isn't down here, then where is it? Richard shared a long look with the man. That's what I'd like to know. If it isn't down here, then it must be someplace else. The blonde-haired lieutenant shifted his weight to his other foot. Well, it didn't just get up and walk away, Lord Rawl. Richard turned his scabbard out of the way as he started climbing down off the rocks. He realized he was frightening the man. Richard seemed to be suggesting something that hinted at magic. It must be as you say, Lieutenant. It must have fallen and grown over. Perhaps the cleft between the mountains was deeper back then, and the fall simply filled it in, rather than making it a mound. The lieutenant liked the idea. It gave him a rock-solid reality. Richard didn't believe it. The cliff face looked peculiar to him. It was too smooth, as if cleaved with a huge sword. Yes, there were jagged places, but that would explain the rock that was at the bottom. It looked to him as though the mountain had been cut off and taken away, and over time water and ice had worked at the smooth face of the cliff, breaking off pieces that had made it more craggy, but it was nowhere near as rough as the other cliffs about. That might explain it, Lord Rawl, the lieutenant said. If that's true, though, that would mean the temple you've looked for must be buried deep underground. So, there is some back and forth thing there about, like, there's a bunch of natural explanations about why this could be the case or not. And Richard is really just like, nah, I don't think so. And he's right. So, although all of that...
I mean, there's no giant mountain of rock there, but, you know, it's like glaciation could be part of it.
There's a lot of explanations of like why that could be the case. So,
also, when you live in a world of magic, a wizard could have blasted half the mountain away, right? Like, I mean, there's all these extra supernatural explanations too.
Yeah, so like, I just don't know. Like, he clearly at this point is starting to think like, oh, it got sent somewhere, and there's nothing that really says, oh, it got sent.
Yeah, that is. Also, that's not That is not interesting dialogue, by the way. Yeah.
I'm not going to be reading much for the specific dialogue portion of Moment to Moment because we'll be covering a lot of that in the passages that I'll be reading anyway.
Okay, that's fine. All right, are we going to move into rules following? Although this is kind of all up together.
Rules following. Does it follow the rules it sets out or not? Bitch, no. Here's a list of shit that is set up and immediately broken. Remember how Rada'Han's could never be taken off or the wizard could die? Both Nathan and Zed do it. No fucking problem in this book.
Yeah, that was like a huge deal in the first book, wasn't it?
Yeah, in the second book.
Second book, sorry. Second
and third, I'm pretty sure. But they do it no fucking problem here. Also, the vines that block Zed's power from one of the native tribes, that is a fucking problem. It is different from the Rada'Han. Kaelin can never fuck a man truly except Richard, whose secret powers block that shit. Oh, except the temple can just turn off her confessor power. So I guess there are ways it can be turned off.
I guess so.
And then back on again for reasons. You only get into the temple via betrayal, but why that's the case is never explained. Also, there's a point where Richard thinks the second betrayal won't work, as I mentioned, because it didn't work for the wizards in the journals he was reading from. But then that is how the temple appears, because Dark and Rawl, for some reason, got to set the cover charge for entrance to the temple.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear from the temple in a therapy session. Like, why is this your thing, temple? Why is it this? Why do you need betrayal?
Richard must get the plague to leave the temple. The one he cured magically by being in the temple. Also, it's fine because he just wrote on his arm actually how to rid himself of the plague, which ostensibly was what Dark and Rawl was trying to prevent by saying you can't leave here with the magical knowledge you gained by coming here. But I guess you can just write shit on your body and that is fine. That doesn't break the you have to lose the magical knowledge rules.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works, guys. Because, like, why would the magic...
That's really easy to fucking bypass, man.
Yeah, because, I mean, why would the magic be that... so the magical curses and parameters are so smart in every other instance, but in this one instance, they're like, we didn't think about writing it on your body. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've gone over enough rules following shit that I don't have to add even more. Character quality. Hey man, Richard is still Richard. He's always right because he is. You just have to listen to him. Although there's like this part of the book where it's like Detective Richard is trying to figure out these sex worker murders, like sometimes.
Oh, I forgot. Wait. So he was involved in that too. I thought this was like a B plot where we were just seeing it unfold. And
no, he's like going in and like he finds out about one of the murders and like he investigates the crime scene a little bit.
Oh God.
So I would like to read a bit of that passage because like Richard gets weirdly hung up on something here. Okay.
Oh yeah, I think you sent this to me.
Show me the room where the woman was murdered, Richard said. That ellipses is in there in the text. Silas Latherton bowed twice before hurrying to the stairs. Tucking in his shirt.
Latherton.
He's the brothel owner.
No, just the name.
Yes. Checking over his shoulder to make sure Richard was following, he climbed the stairs two at a time. They objected to his weight with creaks and groans. He finally came to a halt before a door partway down a narrow hall. With the walls painted red, the candles at either end of the hall provided little illumination. The place stank. And here, Lord Rawl, Silas said. When he moved to open the door, Reyna snatched his collar and pulled him back out of the way. She planted him in place with a sinister look. A look like that from Reyna was enough to give an angry cloud pause. Okay.
Oh, wow. We're really reaching deep in the metaphor bag. All right.
She opened the door and Agil in hand stepped into the room before Richard. Richard waited a moment while Reyna checked the room for threat. It was easier than objecting. Silas stared at the floor while Richard and General Kerrison went into the little room. Ulick and Egan took up points beside the door and folded their massive arms. You will notice that Ulick and Egan pop up all the time to just fold their big arms. That's all they do in this book. There wasn't much to see. A bed, a small pine chest beside it, and a washstand. A dark stain discolored the unfinished spruce floorboards. The bloodstain ran under the bed and covered nearly the entire floor. The size of it didn't surprise him. The general had told him what had been done to the woman. The water in the wash basin looked to be at least half blood. The rag hanging over its side was red with it. The killer had washed the blood from himself before he left. He must either be neat or, more likely, didn't want to walk out past Silas Latherton dripping blood.
Good detective skills there.
Richard opened the pine chest. It contained orderly stacks of clothes and nothing else. He let the lid drop back down. Richard leaned a hand against the doorway. No one heard anything? Silas shook his head. A woman is mutilated like that, had her breasts cut off, and is stabbed hundreds of times, and no one heard a thing? Richard realized that his exhaustion was putting an edge to his voice. His mood wasn't helping either, he guessed. Silas swallowed. She'd have been gagged, Lord Rawl. Her hands were tied too. Richard scowled. She must have kicked her feet. No one heard her kicking? If someone was slicing me up, I was gagged and my hands were tied, I'd have kicked the washstand over at least. She must have kicked her feet trying to get someone's attention. I didn't hear it if she did. None of the other women heard it either. At least they never mentioned it, and I'd think they would have come to get me if they heard anything like that. If there was trouble, they always came to me. They always did. They know I'm not shy about protecting them. Richard rubbed his eyes. The prophecy wouldn't leave him be. He had a headache. So Richard is like, what? Like, oh, well, this woman that was being murdered and was at least tied up with her hands, she didn't kick her feet and make noise. And this brothel owner is like, dude, she was like bound and gagged. Like, usually when you're murdering someone, you're probably gonna.
Also, this took place in an active open brothel. Just gonna point that out. There's gonna be a lot of other sounds and, people are busy. I don't know that you're gonna notice that.
It's just so funny to me that Richard was like, well, she must have kicked her feet. Did you not hear the feet?
And he's like, and I would have kicked over the wash basin at least. Like, get a little victim blaming in there while you're at it. It's real good. It's
like
great, Terry.
The way he just says, like, did she kick her feet or not? The dialogue is weirdly childish there to me. I don't know how to explain it.
It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's just a weird. It is a weird thing to focus on for so many sentences, and for that to be like the sort of pivot of that conversation is really weird. Yeah.
Speaking of weird things to focus on, let's talk about how every woman is a ditz and concerned with their physical appearance, which is par for the course with Sword of Truth.
Yeah.
But I have a particular favorite passage or two that I would like to read for you here. This is Clarissa during the sacking of her fucking entire town. Like people are being assaulted and murdered and like having like rings placed through their lip as marks of slavery and shit like that.
Jeez.
Laughing invaders held the women as others of the beasts, methodically went from woman to woman, seized them by their lower lip, and poked it through with a thin spike. A ring was pushed through each woman's lip, its split opening efficiently closed with the aid of the invader's teeth. He had told her this too, the women would be marked into slavery. This too she had laughed at. And why not? He seemed to her as daft as dumb Gus, expounding his crazy, preposterous ideas and nonsense. Clarissa squinted, trying to see better. It appeared that the different groups of women had different colored rings put through their lips. One group of older women of every shape looked to have copper-colored rings. Another group of younger women screamed and fought as silver rings were put upon them. They stopped fighting and meekly submitted after a few who fought the hardest were run through with swords. The smallest group of the youngest, prettiest women were in the grip of the greatest terror as they were surrounded by a gang of burly invaders. These women received gold rings. Blood ran down their chins and onto their fancy dresses. Clarissa knew most of these young women. It was hard not to remember people who regularly humiliated you. Being in her early 30s and unmarried, Clarissa was the object of scorn among many women. But these young women were the cruelest, giving her smirking, sidelong glances as they passed, referring to her as the old maid or the hag among themselves, but just loud enough that she could hear them. Clarissa had never planned to be this aged and without a husband. She had always wanted a family. She wasn't entirely sure how life and time had rolled on without providing her with the opportunity for a husband. She wasn't ugly, she didn't think, but she knew she was no more than plain at best. Her figure was satisfactory. She had meat on her bones. Her face wasn't twisted or shriveled or grotesque. Whenever she looked at her reflection while passing a window at night, she didn't think an ugly woman stared back at her. She knew it wasn't a face that inspired ballads, but it wasn't repulsive. Yet, with more women than men to be had, being merely not ugly wasn't adequate. So, people are dying and being assaulted and used as chattel here, and Clarissa was like, I'm still kind of hot. I don't understand.
Also, the subtext of haha, they're getting their just desserts.
Yes.
Now they're Jesus Christ. And obviously, this is a character we're supposed to like and identify with. This isn't somebody who's supposed to be a bad character, as far as I can tell. So that's pretty terrible. It's pretty terrible.
So every woman, every conversation between Nadine and Caitlin even is like, oh, but you're so pretty. Richard was probably going to like you because you're so pretty. And when like Nadine and Richard are being catty at each other, it's like Nadine's like, well, I'll show him a good time in bed. And like, it's so centered. It's such a failure of the Bechdel test that like.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like.
Okay. So on top of this, in service to the every woman is a ditz theme here, Kaylin, perhaps the most powerful and accomplished woman in the world, turns into a sobbing emotional mess the second she thinks Richard might not love her or be dying or something. So I would like to read a little bit of like Kaylin dialogue when like shit is getting a little hectic here. Kaylin froze. Thoughts crashed through her mind as a confusion of thundering terror. Her scream came again, ripping through the night, loud enough to be heard over the sound of the thunder. She couldn't make herself blink. She couldn't tear her eyes from Richard's face. She couldn't understand, couldn't make sense of it. The world felt as if it had turned upside down. Everything tumbled around in her mind, making it impossible to think. As the lightning lit the room again, she knew only one thing. This was Richard, not Dreffin. No look she had ever seen on Richard's face was as terrifying to Kaylin as the one she saw now. There was nothing in his eyes, not rage, not lethal commitment, not determination, not a deadly calm countenance, not jealousy, not even empty disinterest. There was no soul in those gray eyes, no heart. Kaylin covered her mouth with both trembling hands. She backed away until her back smacked against the stone wall. Kaylin collapsed to the floor with a wail of horror. No, dear spirits, no! Richard didn't rush to her, didn't even speak words of comfort, didn't yell. Instead, he went to where his clothes were lying, near the door, and began getting dressed. Kaylin scurried to her things nearby. She raced to pull on her underthings, suddenly feeling the humiliation of her nakedness, its reminder of what she had just done. Kaylin gripped Richard by his wrist as he picked up his pants. How? This is Dreffin's sword, not yours. It's Dreffin's sword. Richard took it from her and leaned against the wall. They took your power. You have no way to defend yourself. Dreffin will be the one near you now, not me. I gave him the sword of truth so that he could protect you. His eyes finally met hers. I guess this one finds the truth just as well as the other. Richard, don't you see? It was you. It was you in here with me, not Dreffin. The spirits mark a distinction between intent and deed. It wasn't him. It was you all along. He pulled his arms away. The spirits might mark a distinction, but he didn't. To Richard, the intent was the same as the deed. Richard, you don't understand. It wasn't what you think. Richard, she wept as she pulled on a boot. Please talk to me. Say something. Ask me to explain. Tell me there can be no explanation. Yell at me. Call me a whore. Tell me you hate me. Hit me. Do something. Don't ignore me. He turned and picked up his black sleeveless undershirt. As he pulled it on over his head, she scooped up his black shirt and held it to her breast, hoping to halt his dressing. Richard, please. I love you. His gaze again rose to hers. She thought he was going to say something, but instead he turned away and retrieved his belt with the leather packs on it. He snapped on his wristbands. Kaylin held his shirt to her chest and shook as she watched him hook his belt together. She didn't know what to do. He picked up Dreffin's sword and buckled it on. Richard, please talk to me. Say something. This is the doing of the spirits. Don't you remember what I told you that grandfather spirit told me? The winds have decided that you are the path of the price. They did this to us. So she's just reeling and upset here and just like begging for anything. She doesn't even really like try to give a good explanation besides like, well, it was different. The spirits, please don't be mad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the other thing that's surprising about this is they've been through so much together already where one or both of them have almost died. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't depict them being emotional, but maybe in a way that's a little more mature would make more sense. Given their long relationship and all of these trials they've experienced and near-death experiences they've both had, it's like, would you really be tearing your hair out and being like, oh, spirits? You'd probably be like, fuck, and like shed 2 tears and be like, all right, I gotta like steel myself for this. You know, it's like, again, a more mature, experienced response and not the response of like a 14-year-old whose boyfriend broke up with them or whatever.
This is also going to be a passage when Richard is like dying from the plague and Kaylin has to like rush and find the book. She opened his limp hand to press it to her cheek and saw something in his palm. She pulled back his fingers and through the tears she saw writing in the palm of his hand. It said, "Find book, destroy it to live." Kaylin sprawled over his unconscious form and grabbed his other hand. It too had writing on it. Pinch of white sorcerer's sand on 3rd page. 1 grain of black sorcerer's sand on. There were 3 other words, but in her mind state of chaotic disorder, she couldn't think of how to pronounce them. He knew he was going to forget, and before he did, he wrote a message to himself. He had forgotten what he had written. The book. She had to have the book. And then she was running, screaming as she went, "Kara, Berdine, help me! Kara, Berdine!" Both women dashed out of the slips room, out onto the walkway beside the inky pool, where they heard Kaylin screaming their names as she raced into the tower room. Kaylin grasped at their leather as she tried to explain. They each seized one of Kaylin's arm and pressed her up against the wall. "Slow down," Berdine said. "We can't understand you," Kara said. "Get your breath. Stop crying and get your breath." "Richard," she tried to point, but they held her arms. "Richard has the plague. I need the book. Berdine leaned in close. Lord Rawl has the plague? Kaelin nodded frantically. I have to get the book. The book that was stolen from the Temple of the Winds. I have to get it or he will die. Kaelin tore her arms away from them. Please help me. Richard has the plague. What do you need us to do? Kara asked. I'm going to the old world. Protect him. The old world? Berdine gasped. Do you know where the book is? Did he tell you where to find it? Did he give you any hint? Kaelin shook her head. There wasn't time. She had to hurry. She had to go. I don't know where it is, but it's the only chance he has. He took on the magic of the plague in order to return this world, in order to beg my forgiveness. He wanted to tell me he was sorry for hurting me. If we don't destroy the book, he'll die, just so he could say he was sorry. He'll die. I have to go. But Mother Confessor, Berdine said, the old world is a big place. If Richard has the plague, how can you hope to find the book? In time, that was what she meant. How could she hope to find the book in time before Richard died? Kaelin gripped a fistful of red leather. I have to try. Protect Richard. Don't let Dreffin know that Richard is back. I don't know what Dreffin would do. Don't tell him. Kara was shaking her head. Don't worry about that. We won't tell Dreffin. We'll take care of Richard while you're gone. We'll hide him here in the keep. But hurry. If you can't find it, please come back before... Kaelin rushed into the room with the sliff. She raced to the sliff's well. The sliff smiled at seeing her. Do you wish... Travel? I need to travel now? To where do you wish to travel? The old world. Where in the old world? There are a number of places I know there. We can go to any you wish. I will take you. You will be pleased. Kaelin pressed her hands to her head, growling in frustration as the sliff started naming places Kaelin had never heard of. The place you came to with Richard, with your master when he went to get me. The first place I traveled with you. Kaelin hiked up her white dress and clambered onto the wall of the well. That place. Take me there. Hurry. Your master's life is at stake. Richard, Kaelin called out to Kara and Berdine. What should we tell Dreffin when he wants to know where you are? Berdine asked. I don't know. You'll have to think of something. We will care for Richard until you return, Kara said. May the good spirits be with you. Tell him I love him. Tell him I love him, she called out as the sliff's silver arm swept Kaelin from the top of the well. That was the passage where she's like, I don't know, so somewhere painful. In the old world, the book will be there. And then she literally just pops out into the plot relevant place.
Great.
So she's just like Wonderful. A screaming emotional mess. At any point, there's a little bit of tension. And as you said, this is like one of the most politically powerful women in Dahara. Why?
And magically powerful, yes. Too. And they've been through all this shit together before. This isn't her first fucking disaster rodeo. Like, that's all they kind of do together is go through weird disasters. So, oh, man.
Okay. So, Paris, that's the end of plot construction. Fucking -1.
Yeah, that would be a -2 if we could. That's like a strong negative vibe with all that shit that we had to go through there.
Okay, we're doing moment to moment here now. I'm gonna kind of mash prose, quality, and dialogue together in this just because I want to read fine. 2 or 3 passages. And the problem that I have with Terry is just like, he feels so childish as a writer. It's like high fantasy. It's not like I need everything to be all thee and thou or Game of Thrones style talking, but like a good example is how frequently Kaelin or someone else are constantly worried about being, quote, yelled at. Oh no, Richard's going to yell at me. Or Nadine and Kaelin pretty much just talking about how their physical appearance and ability to fuck is what will keep Richard around. I want to read this little short bit here.
I love that the note for this section is dumb green eyes. That's what I'm seeing in the text.
Kaelin smiled. That sounds like the Richard I know. It doesn't sound like he's really changed all that much. The Tommies and Lesters are just bigger now and meaner. Nadine gave a little shrug. I guess. She looked up when Kara held out Nadine's tin cup, which Kara had filled from the ewer on the washstand. Nadine took a sip. I can't believe people are really trying to kill Richard. I can't believe anyone would want to kill him. He smirked. Even Tommy and Lester only wanted to knock out his teeth. She settled the cup in her lap. I can't believe his own father would want to kill him. You said Dark and Rawl had Richard tortured. Why did he do that? Kaelin glanced up at Kara. It's in the past. I really don't want to stir up memories. Nadine reddened. Sorry, I almost forgot that he and you... She drew her fingers across her cheeks, wiping away a fresh tear. It just doesn't seem fair. Nadine flicked a hand in frustration. You've got everything. You have this palace. I never even knew such things existed. It looks like some vision come from the spirit world. And you have such fine things and magnificent clothes. That dress makes you look like one of the good spirits. Nadine looked at Kaelin in the eye. And you're so beautiful, it doesn't seem fair. You even have beautiful green eyes. I just have dumb brown eyes. You must have had men lined up around the palace your whole life wanting you. You must have had more suitors than most women can even dream of. You have everything. You can have your pick of any man in the Midlands, and you pick a man from my home. Nadine's dialogue the whole time is this. Yes, it's just that.
Is she 12? Like,
doesn't
how
it
old
sound
is she
like
supposed to
that?
be?
She's like 20 something, man. But like,
Oh,
exactly, she sounds like a 12-year-old, and so do a lot of other, like even the Mord Sith are always like, and I'm all sexy in my leather and I can control a man with my wiles and shit like that.
Mhm.
Furthermore, explanations of the new magical thing that breaks the old magical rule that was established feels like Terry just saying, okay, disregard that old thing I made up, a new magic rule, and is often just characters feeling the vibes out and being right in the end.
Yes.
I would like to read another like exposition attempt here.
Great. I mean, keep the dumb coming. It's been a ride.
This is Richard and Kaelin talking.
Okay.
He stared out the window toward the massive stone walls of the wizard's keep up on the mountain. I think I may have found out what the red moon meant. The somber quality in his voice gave her pause. What? She finally asked. He turned to the table and set down the cup. I had Berdine looking for places where Kolo used the word moss, or maybe mentioned a red moon, hoping that we might find something to help us. He flipped open the journal on the table. He had found the journal up in the keep where it had been sealed in for 3,000 years, along with the man who had written it. Kolo had been keeping watch over the Sliff, the strange creature that could take some people great distances, when the towers separating the old and new worlds were completed. When the towers were activated, Kolo had been sealed in, trapped, and had died there. The journal had already proven an invaluable source of information, but it was written in High Daharan, which complicated matters. Berdine understood High Daharan, but not such an ancient form of it. They had to use another book written in almost the same ancient form of High Daharan to aid them. Richard's childhood memory of that book's story helped Berdine to translate words, which they used as a cross-reference in order to work out the translation of the journal. As they went along, Richard was learning much of both the vernacular of High Daharan and also the much older Argot form, but it was still frustratingly slow going. After Richard had brought Kaelin back to Aedendril, he told her how he had used the information in the book to find a way to rescue her. He said that sometimes he could seem to read with ease, but then in other places he and Berdine became bogged down. He said that at times he was able to unravel a page in a few hours, and then they would spend a whole day trying to translate one sentence. Moss? You said you had her checking for the word moss. What's that mean? He took a sip of tea and set the cup back down. Moss? Oh, it means wind in High Daharan. He opened the pages to a marker. Since it was taking so much time to translate the journal, we've just been looking for keywords and then concentrating on those passages, hoping to get lucky. I thought you said you were translating it in order to better understand the way Kolo uses the language. He sighed in annoyance. Kaelin, I don't have the time for that. We had to change our tactics. Kaelin didn't like the sound of that. Richard, I was told that your brother is the high priest of an order called the Rogmoth. Is that High Daharan? Means divine wind, he muttered. He tapped the book, not seeming to want to discuss it. See here? Berdine found where Kolo was talking about a red moon. He was really upset about it. The whole keep was in an uproar. He writes that they were betrayed by the team. He said that the team was to be put on trial for their crimes. We haven't had time to look into that yet, but... Richard flipped the book back toward the front where one of their written translations was inserted and read her the passage. Today, one of our most coveted desires, possible only through the brilliant, tireless work of a team of near to 100, has been accomplished. The items most feared lost, should we be overrun, have been protected. A cheer went up from all the keep when we received word today that we were successful. Some thought it was not possible, but to the astonishment of all, it is done. The Temple of the Winds is gone. Gone? Kaelin asked. Where's the Temple of the Winds? Where did it go? Richard shut the book. I don't know, but later in the journal, Kolo says that his team who had done it had betrayed them all. High Daharan is an odd language. Words have different meanings depending on how they're used. Most languages are that way. Our own is.
Yeah.
Yes, but sometimes in High Daharan, a word that ordinarily has different meanings according to its usage is intended to have multiple meanings. You can't have one meaning without all the rest. That makes translating it all the more difficult. For example, in the old prophecy that names me the bringer of death, the word death means 3 different things depending on how it's used. The bringer of the underworld, the world of the dead, the bringer of spirits, spirits of the dead, and the bringer of death, meaning to kill. Each meaning is different, but all 3 were intended. That was the key. The prophecy was in the book we brought with us from the Palace of the Prophets. Warren was only able to translate the prophecy after I told him all 3 meanings were true. He told me that because of that, he was the first in thousands of years to know the true meaning of the prophecy as it was written. What does this have to do with the Temple of the Winds? When Kolo says winds, I think he sometimes just means the wind. Like when you say the wind is blowing today, but sometimes when he says winds, I think he means the Temple of the Winds. I think he used it as a short way of referencing the Temple of the Winds, but at the same time as a way to differentiate it from other temples. Kaelin blinked. Are you saying that you think Shoda's message that the wind hunts you means that the Temple of the Winds is really somehow hunting you? I don't know for sure. Richard, that's a pretty big leap of reasoning if that's what you're really thinking. To take Kolo's short way of referring to the Temple of the Winds and infer Shoda is talking about the same place. When Kolo talks about how everyone was in an uproar and those men were to be put on trial, he makes it sound as if the winds have a sense of perception. Kaylin cleared her throat this time. Richard, are you trying to tell me that Kolo claims that this place, the Temple of the Winds, is sentient? She wondered how long it had been since they had gotten any sleep. She wondered if he was thinking clearly. I said I wasn't sure. But that's what you mean. Well, it sounds absurd when you say it like that. It doesn't sound the same when you read it into High Daharan. I don't know how to explain the difference, but there is one. Maybe it's just a difference of degree. Difference of degree or not, how can a place have a sense of perception? Be sentient? Side. I don't know. I've been trying to figure that out myself. What do you think I've been up all night doing?
I don't know.
But such a thing is not possible. His defiant gray eyes turned to her. The Wizard's Keep is just a place, but it knows when someone violates it. It reacts to that violation by stopping the person, even killing them if it must, to prevent an unauthorized person from entering the place they don't belong. Kaylin made a face. Richard, that's the shields. Wizard place those shields to protect important or dangerous things from being stolen or to prevent people from going where they could be hurt. But they react without anyone having to tell them, don't they? So does a leg hole trap. That doesn't make them sentient. You mean that the Temple of the Winds is protected by shields? That's all you're saying, then, that it has shields. Yes and no. It's more than simply shields. Shields only ward. The way Kola talks about it makes it sound like the Temple of the Winds can, I don't know, like it can think. Like it can decide things when it must. Decide things? Like what? When he wrote how everyone was in a panic about the Red Moon, that was when he said the team who had sent the Temple of the Winds had betrayed them. So, what? So I think the Temple of the Winds made the moon turn red. There's the logic for you. So, Paris, so much of this book is conversations between people where one person is like, that doesn't really make any sense. And another person walks in and goes, no, you're wrong. And here's what I think. And it's right. And then the first person goes like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's cool. And then we move on from there as like, it's just accepted fact. It is like, Terry seems to have this obsession with like, oh, if I just explain shit to you the right way, you'll obviously come around to my line of thinking. Like every conversation is some version of that. And it feels like Terry's just like, listen, I just got to tell you the right words and you'll fully understand my logic because clearly it's the correct way. And I was right all along.
Yeah, he's Richard. He's Richard Rawl.
This is the theme of everything in this book. Let me ask you, Paris, would you like any more passages from this to like reinforce the theme, or are you feeling good and done here?
As much as I would love to wrap this, I am interested in how he describes sex workers or their whole deal, because I sense that Terry would not be good at this. And there would be no sensitivity and it would just be fucked up. I mean, he's already got a Jack the Ripper situation happening. So that leads me to believe that sex workers are not.
I'll read you a murder scene.
Oh, great.
The room had no windows. The bed, covered with stained, rumpled sheets, was pushed into the far corner. Even though it wasn't large, the bed took up a good part of the room. Against the wall, beside the head of the bed, sat a small, simply made pine chest, probably for personal items. On the wall over the head of the bed hung an ink drawing of two people coupled in passion. It left nothing to the imagination. A wash basin sat centered on a wobbly-looking cabinet beside her, behind the door. In its edge, the white wash basin had a stained kidney-shaped chip with a crack that looked like an artery coming from the kidney. The cloth hanging over the side of the basin still dripped. The milky water in the basin gently slopped from side to side. She had just washed herself. They each had their own habits. Some didn't bother to wash, but they were usually the older, unattractive ones who were paid little and cared little. He had noticed that the younger, prettier, more expensive women washed after each man. He preferred the ones who washed before he came to them, but in the end his lust overrode such trivial matters. He idly wondered if those he had been with who were not professionals ever gave thought to such things. Probably not. He doubted that others pondered such curious particulars. Others gave little thought to the texture of details. Other women looking for love, satisfied him, but not in the same way. They always wanted to talk and to be wooed. They wanted. He wanted. In the end, his want overrode what he would prefer, and he gave them some of what they wanted before his needs could be satisfied. I thought I was finished for the night, she said. Her words came out silky smooth with a pleasant pert lilt, but bore no real interest at the prospect of another man this late. I think I'm the last, he said, trying to sound apologetic as to not anger her. It wasn't as satisfying if they were angry. He liked nothing more than when they were eager to please. She sighed. All right, then. She showed no fear as to having a man simply walk into her room without knocking, even though she was hardly wearing anything, nor did she make any demands for money. Silas Latherton downstairs with his cudgel and long knife in his belt made sure the women had nothing to fear. He also didn't let anyone go up the stairs unless they had paid in advance, so the women didn't have to be bothered with the trouble of collecting money. It ensured that he, rather than they, kept control of the income and its distribution. Her short, straight blonde hair was disheveled, from Mr. Potbelly, no doubt, but he found its disorder alluring. It was a suggestive indication of what she had just been doing. It lent her an erotic look, a look he very much liked. Her body was shapely and firm, with long legs and wonderfully formed breasts. At least what he had seen of her body before she had thrown closed her robe. He would see it again, and could wait. The anticipation added to his excitement. Unlike her other men, he was in no rush to have it over. Once it began, it would be over all too quickly. He could never stop himself once it began. For the moment, he would relish all the little details so that he could capture them in his memory for all time. She was more than simply pretty, he decided. She was a creature possessed of features that would fire men's minds with obsessive memories of her and make them return time and time again to try, if only for a fleeting moment, to possess her. The confidence with which she carried her body told him that she knew this. The frequency with which men spent money to have her was a constant reinforcement of that confidence. Those features, though, no matter their grace and haunting beauty, had an acidic edge to them, a harshness that betrayed her true character. No doubt other men saw only the sweet face and never noticed. He noticed. He noticed such subtle things, and he had seen this detail often. It always looked the same. It was a baseness her fair features couldn't hide from one such as himself. "Are you new?" he asked, even though he knew she was. "First day here," she said. He knew that too. Indril is big enough to mean clients for me, but with a huge army here, it's all the better. Blue eyes around here aren't all that common. My blue eyes remind the Daharan soldiers of girls from home. So many extra men mean women like me are in greater demand, and it ensures a better wage. She allowed herself a small, smug, knowing smile. If you couldn't afford it, you wouldn't be up here, so cut the complaints. He had only meant to make an observation and regretted the way she took it. Her voice betrayed an underlying acerbic temperament. He sought to smooth away the ripple of her displeasure with him. Soldiers can sometimes get rough with a young woman as attractive as you. The compliment didn't register in her sky-blue eyes. She had probably heard it so often that she was numb to such praise. "I'm glad you came to Silas Latherton," he went on. "He doesn't let any of his clients rough up the young ladies. You'll be safe here under his roof. I'm glad you came here." "Thanks." Her tone carried no warmth, but the ripple, at least, had been smooth. "I'm glad to hear his reputation is known to his clients. I got slammed around once. I didn't like it. Besides the pain, I couldn't work for a month." "That must have been terrible. The pain, I mean." She tilted her head towards the bed. "You going to take off your clothes or what?" He said nothing, but gestured to her robe. He watched her slip loose the knot from the satin belt. "Have it your way," she said, as she shrugged the robe open just enough to tempt him into getting on with it. I'd like you to enjoy it too." She lifted an eyebrow. "Darling, don't you worry about me. I'll enjoy it just fine. You'll no doubt thrill me, but you're the one who paid for it. Let's just worry about your pleasure." He liked to hear the tempted thread of sarcasm in her voice. He cloaked it well with a breathy tone, and others might have missed it, but he had been listening for it. Carefully, slowly, one at a time, he placed 4 small gold coins on the washstand beside her. It was 10 times what Silas Latherton downstairs charged for his women's company, and probably 30 times what he gave her for each man. She watched the coins as he withdrew his hand, as if counting them to herself to make sure she was seeing what she thought she was seeing. It was a great deal of money. She gave him a questioning look. He liked the twitch of confusion in her eyes. Women like this weren't often confused by money, but she was young and probably never had a man bestow such largesse on her before. He liked it that impressed her. He knew that few things would. "I'd like you to enjoy yourself. I'm willing to pay to see you enjoying yourself. Darling, for that much, you'll remember my screams until you're an old man." Of that, he was sure. So I'll spare you the knifing that happens later, but like...
Yeah, thanks for that.
So, you know, sex workers are worn in and like a little numb to things.
Wily. Yeah, I mean, sure, but we don't get any actual personality. We just get the standard, like, hey, this job sucks, and we don't get any bit of.
Yes, I do want to say one thing that, like, clearly Terry is presenting murdering sex workers as bad, and there's even a couple of things, like instances in this book where he's like kind of saying, like, you should treat sex workers with some respect. Because, like, the Sliff getting to get her revenge on Dreffin, who thinks, like, all women are whores, and being the one to kill him is, like, supposed to be a comeuppance of sorts.
I see.
So there's, like, some of that in here where Terry is like, hey, man, don't be mean to the sex workers. So I don't want to hand it to him, but, you know, at least that.
Yeah, but he cleared the bar that was below hell, so he did something.
But Paris, for all of that, Terry's writing is just so childish. It sounds always like a 12-year-old boy's idea of what is cool and hot at all times.
Yep.
And for that reason, and the many examples that I've given you, -1 on moment to moment.
Yeah, for real.
Moving to Terriblo's presence. Chaos levels off the fucking charts here, man. Like, the magic system is so fucked that, like, it's just...
There's no system.
You know that in a couple of chapters or even a page that Terry's going to be like, actually, here's the thing that undoes the thing that's supposed to not be able to be undone.
Yeah.
So at no point am I trying to keep track of, like, what is the system at work here anymore.
Well, and you're just completely unmoored because of that. And it feels like, again, there's no real stakes because none of it matters. And it can change instantly based on how Terry's feeling that day, I guess. So.
Yes. Levels constant. I checked multiple other summaries to see if I missed or misunderstood something, and they all seem to gloss over shit and just go for hey, I guess they just had to find this shit. Hilariously, there are multiple posts on the Sword of Truth subreddit going, wait, why was Richard mad at Kaelin after he had sex with her? Or wait, how did Kaelin just know the right place to get sent in order to find the book? And also, how did she know, like, what specific book that Amelia had on her was, like, the right book when Richard just mentioned, like, a book? Even the fans are confused, Paris. These are people posting on the Sword of Truth subreddit. And, like, to be clear, a lot of these are, like, posts from, like, 5+ years ago. But it's hilarious that everything I found when I typed in Temple of the Winds was, like, why was Richard mad at Kaelin after they had sex? And someone in the comments were going like, oh, well, it's because, like, she liked it because she thought it was Dreffin and he felt betrayed. And then the OP being like, but he still got to, like, have sex with her and everything. Like, he could have just, like, you know, the light, he could have, like, stepped into the light and been like, shh, it's me. Like, I don't.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, there
was nothing about it had to be dark. It was just, you have to be quiet.
And yet there were, how many more books after this one?
Many. I don't want to count,
8.
man. There's a bunch
like
in my bookcase downstairs, like, hidden behind a stack of other books, and I had to, like, peel this one out from its, like, hidden enclave.
Thank you, Liz and Mike, for donating those to the show a couple of years ago.
God. Okay. And please help Paris. I had to visit you in person, have lunch, and get super drunk with you to feel better about this after I completed it.
In the middle of the day, guys. Brilliantly sunny, 2 p.m. Yeah, it was.
I completed the book, and we had sort of a TBC business dinner planned anyway, but I was like, I'm getting fucking wrecked after this, dude. I took the bus home plastered.
It wasn't an incident.
No, I wasn't like that drunk, but like 2 drinks is enough to get me pretty tipsy.
Yeah. All right, that sounds like a -1.
That's a -1, Paris, for Tornillo's presence. Should this exist? Would readers of this genre enjoy this? Based on the Reddit posts and the confusion, I actually want to say no. And if you like fantasy, this is the worst example. This is every fantasy sin packed into one book. All of them.
That's bad.
This is the textbook definition of every possible failure a fantasy author could do.
Yeah, so it kind of seems like you can just I mean, I wouldn't recommend reading this series at all, but I guess if you are, it sounds like you could skip this one. Because nothing materially changes, right?
They get married in the end and Raina dies. So if you're wondering, like, where'd Raina go?
Oh. Well, of course, because the lesbians can never be happy. One or both of them must be killed.
There's a whole... When she died... Okay, so there's like a moment earlier on where, like, Berdine and Raina do something, like, mildly against what Richard told them to do. And he's like, oh, you must be punished. And his, like, punishment is, like, you have to go out and feed the squirrels outside because he knows that Raina likes, like, woodland creatures. So he's just being, like, a little cute with her. And so Raina befriends a squirrel that she names Reggie that, like, eats out of her hand. And when she's, like, dying from the plague, she's like, bring me to Reggie. And Berdine carries her out into, like, a field where the squirrel is, and she, like, has a little bit of squirrel feed in her hand, and Reggie is, like, eating out of her hand, and she's like, oh, thank you for bringing me to Reggie, and dies. So you could probably understand why I
believe you almost didn't tell me about that.
I had to bring it up here, Paris, because it doesn't fit anywhere else in anything that we brought up here. But it's such a stupid, silly detail.
Reggie. I love how she's with her girlfriend who she loves, but she's like, bring me to Reggie the squirrel for my last moment. Okay.
She does say, I love you, Berdine, but it's like as she is feeding Reggie, she's like, this is more important. So,
All right.
readers of the genre would
that's a
not
no.
enjoy this. Do we feel as if the author's goal was meant? I mean, I guess yes. If it's just Terry getting to jerk off and make money more, it worked out for him at the end.
Is Terry just the Temple of the Winds, guys?
God.
Was he the Temple of the Winds all along? It's just
It is.
Terry.
Does it add anything new, interesting, or novel? No, it is in fact the pure essence of terrible fantasy. Did it take something from me? Yes, this one was so painful.
Yeah.
I put the book down so many times, Paris. I had to like will myself
You messaged me a lot. Yeah, you sent me a lot of messages.
This took,
it was bad.
like 1.5 times the amount of time it had to, because I would have to like look at my phone for like a little bit instead for the
like
dopamine
cleanse your mind, before you go back in.
Okay. What should we read instead? What would I recommend? Anything else in the fantasy fucking, Song of Ice and Fire for like example of anything else. Even a fucking Brando Sando is miles better than this. And I wouldn't call Brando like a super accomplished literary genius, but at least he treats women with some respect. And his magic systems, he tries very hard to have his magic systems make sense. I will give that to Brando. I mean, their anime is fucking
I'll always recommend Steven Erikson.
Yep, Steven Erikson.
I like
N.K. Jemisin. In particular, so I thought a good recommendation to like pair against this is like Richard is like a 12-year-old boy who's very kind of lunk-headed throughout all of this.
An adult.
I have been reading Tad Williams' Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series, and the protagonist in that series is kind of a bonehead, but it's done in a way where it's just like it leans into his earnestness and his inability to like, do. He's competent enough to survive things, but his earnestness is part of his character in a way that doesn't. He's not ever trying to tell people like, you have to listen to me. He's actually like, I better listen to everyone else if I want to fucking survive this shit. So if you want sort of a protagonist that isn't, chosen one, destined to do everything great, but like is always correct all the time, try out Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. It's far more charming than this series. Far more charming. But like literally any fantasy author will do, And for coherent magic systems, like Brandon Sanderson, N.K. Jemison's magic stuff, I've always really liked too.
I mean, I talked about Lori Marks on the last episode. I thought her Elemental Logic series was really good. I mean, I read them a long time ago, but they're probably fine. I can't imagine they would have degraded over time. Also published by Tor, interestingly enough. Tor is really just
tent.
Whew. Oh yeah, big old tent.
So Paris, for should this exist, that's a big old -1.
Oh yeah.
So final scoring here. Technical construction a 1.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Plot construction a -1. Moment to moment a -1. Cereblo's presence, I don't think I actually scored when I talked about it, a -1. And should this exist, a -1. So ultimately a -3 out of 5, which I still think is too high.
Wait, -3.
Because 1 and -1 cancel each other out, and then the 3 other categories for -1.
Right. That's too bad. It really deserves a -5.
It's really the fact that Tor published this that's really putting it over the top enough to like it got some technical editing happening here.
Woof.
Okay, Paris, can we fix it? Fucking no. We're in too deep at this point with all of this. Like, you have to throw it all in the trash. The magic systems are irrevocably ruined with all this is unfuckwithable, and then it's fucked with immediately. Everything in this world is so binary too, like additive, subtractive magic, systems of light and the dark. Either are you with us or against us?
So boring.
There's such a lack of nuance or gray areas for anything. Richard is always morally correct. Literally, the only redeeming quality of this book is insinuating that sex workers should maybe be treated with a little bit more respect.
Well, and like, there's again, my problem with this book and many others like it is that there's just no stakes. Because, like, Harry isn't going to do anything bad to Kaylin or Richard or Zed or whatever. I mean, I guess I don't know what happens 8 books from now or however many books are in the series. I know there's quite a few. But it just doesn't feel like there's ever any real danger or even real change, right? Because, like, Richard and Kaylin don't change as people.
Nope. Why do you have to change when you're always right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, Paris, that brings us to the end of Temple of the Winds, book 4 in the Sword of Truth series. I don't know when I'll want to come back again to this. Maybe
Chris, don't.
Yeah. I'm so done, dude. Like, I'm saying it here. I'm really like, we have all those other books in there. I might just throw them all in the garbage.
No, don't do that.
Okay. Well, thank you for sitting through this with me. And thank you to our patrons and Ko-fi donors, like our bad bookworms, Ben, Donnie, Emily, Jakub, Katie M, Jared, Scott, and Will. Our exacting editors, Kieran, David D, Emmy, Funny Robot with Antennas, Greg, Harry 7, Martin, Root Beer Cutie, The Ugly One, Elliot, and Xander. Our loathsome librarians like Yanka, Veronica, Luchek, Patricia, 1 in 1,000. Our pesky publishers like Miles, Austin, Patrick, Patricia, Beast with the Least. And of course, our Ko-fi donors like Mark, Tracy, our ever faithful Kiwi Thing, and Excavating Lizard, along with Martin F., Brenna, and Matthew, who relieved us of terrible books. If you want some terrible books we've read for the show, you can buy them over on our Ko-fi page, like this one. You can also honestly just direct message us and request, like, hey, I heard you guys had that as a physical copy. Maybe we were a little bit lazy about putting it up on the Ko-fi page, so just ask for it if we mentioned it on
Not lazy is the wrong word. Too busy is the correct phrase. It is actually on my list to get the rest of these up after
But you can request Temple of the Winds that I treated horribly. It's a fucked up copy because I don't care about preserving this shit.
We'll write you a message. We'll tell you.
All right, Paris.
Tell you how much we love you.
I'm off to enter the Temple of the Winds because I stole your snack that you're about to have after our recording session. It's gone. So I can enter the Temple of the Winds and take all the magic knowledge, but not actually have it come back. Or I don't know. This whole thing is stupid. Even this ending sequence is stupid that I've come up with.
Don't forget to set up your cuck chairs in the dark, everyone, and make sure your dad's there too. That's what Terry wants.
Also, like, if you're doing a switcheroo, just like step out into the light for a second and let people know.
Wear a perfume you know the other person knows you wear all the time. You know, there are ways to communicate beyond sound. I am off to a karaoke party on this miserably rainy, wet day. But Chris and I are kind of stoked because we've only got one more recording session after today. So we're almost done.
Thank to Reblow.
Almost done.
All right, Paris.
Hail to Reblow.
I'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Terrible Book Club. Terrible Book Club is an independent podcast produced by your hosts, Paris and Chris. Sound design and audio editing by Chris, with sound effects and music by Epidemic Sound and sometimes also Chris. Our theme song is Kiss by Yearn, which is, you guessed it, actually also Chris. You can find more of his soothing synthy sounds on Bandcamp at yearn.bandcamp.com. Do you want us to review a book of your choice on the show? Do you want access to some extra audio-visual weirdness? If so, become a patron at patreon.com/terriblebookclub. If you'd like to send us a one-time tip instead, you can do that at ko-fi.com/terriblebookclub. You can also support TBC for free by sharing the show on social media, following our accounts on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or Goodreads, telling your friends about your favorite episode, or by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or anywhere else on the internet. To send us book recommendations or your adorable pet photos, send an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com.